are now halfway through the episodes, and before we get to the top 20, I just want to have a brief intermission. There are a few things I wanted to discuss and didn't know where best to put them, so here is a good place as any. Look at Mabel. She looks alright. She has a neck. Now look at Wendy, also has a neck. Okay, now Seuss. He's a bit on the heavier side, but most definitely a neck. We can all agree, right? But now let's look at Dipper. No, I mean, really look at him. What is that? Is that a neck? Or is that his chest going directly into his head? Once I noticed it, I could never unnotice it. The more I think about it, the more cursed it gets. Tell me what you guys think. Next, I love how Mabel pretty much gets a new sweater every episode, but everyone else is stuck with the cartoon show treatment by just having the one. It even plays a little bit into the series finale. Hey, do you remember these teenagers? Well, these three are probably the most notorious villains in the entire show. Yes, that's right, they're even worse than Bill. We first saw their crimes by aggressively dancing at the shop owners of the Dusk to Dawn convenience store, causing them to have a double heart attack and dying. Then, later on, in an episode I haven't got to yet, we see the same teenagers dumping candy, creating a monster that eventually wants to kill the twins and their friends, even eating a little kid. I think we find out their fates in a Gravity Falls game, Pine's Quest, where if you come across a gravestone, it says that Jeffrey Fresh, Byron, and Rilla Rosie ran afoul of a trickster, so they kind of got what they deserved. Okay, finally, does anyone else find it a little bit sad that Mabel gets two friends, Candy and Grenda, but Dipper pretty much has no one? Yes, he's got Seuss and Mabel and later on Ford to an extent, but I mean, like, he has no friends his age. It makes him feel kinda lonely. Well, those are just a couple thoughts I had and wanted to say. Let's get back to the rankings. If you enjoy my crippling addiction to bad shows and movies, please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And spoilers for anyone who cares.
I don't even know how to respond to this.
This episode is a special one because it starts giving up the characters for the season 1 finale. See, it starts with Gideon plotting on how to get revenge on the Pines family for making fun of him, and he figures that the best way to do that is by taking over the Mystery Shack. He tries tricking Stan with a fake check, but Stan sees right through it, embarrassing Gideon and foiling his plan to sign the rights of the Mystery Shack over to him. Later, while playing chess, Seuss asks Mabel to help reach something on a higher shelf, saying that she is taller than Dipper.
Alpha Twin! Alpha Twin!
Obviously not happy about this, Dipper goes deep into the woods using the journal to go out and find a crystal that has height-changing properties once light shines through it. Now, I gotta point this out. How coincidental is it that every time Dipper has a unique problem and he looks into the journal, he finds something that specifically helps him out? If there was only one journal, I could buy it, but there are at least 3 that we know of. What if the crystals were written about by the author in journal 1 or 2? Dipper would be totally screwed, unless he accidentally finds it in the woods another way, which he kinda does anyway. He takes some crystals and using a flashlight, he now has the power to change the heights of anything, even himself. Seuss is apparently very perceptive because he immediately notices that Dipper is now an extra millimeter taller than Mabel. Mabel laughs it off, saying she'll be taller in the end, but Dipper is pretty sure that he has another growth spurt coming up, and growth spurts he does, but Mabel figures that something weird is happening here.
An invisible wizard! Really, Dipper?
They fight for the flashlight and it lands at the feet of Gideon. Good thing he has no idea of what it does.
Maybe he didn't see us use it and doesn't know it's a magic flashlight that can grow and shrink things.
Really?
Now captured, Gideon takes them home and wants to know how Dipper got his hands on the crystal. Did he read about it somewhere? And after Dipper makes fun of him, Gideon decides to use the flashlight to shrink Stan and take the shack by force. By the way, we also meet Gideon's mom in this scene, and I think we can all agree that we need to save her from her terrible living situation.
Mother.
Precious memories.
Just keep backing it. Just keep backing it.
Dipper and Mabel manage to escape and fly back to the shack, They even manage to distract Gideon and get the flashlight back. But at the last minute, they argue whether Mabel will make them both equal height or not, causing them to be captured once again. Gideon shrinks who he believes is Stan, but it's actually Zeus wearing his iconic fez. Zeus accidentally tells Gideon where Stan is and he goes looking for him in the mirror maze, which was an idea from Zeus that Stan eventually stole.
One day.
Oh, so that's why he let Stan take his ideas and he works for free. Anyway, Dipper asks why Mabel was making fun of him for being shorter, saying that they wouldn't even be in this mess if she hadn't. And Mabel explains that in everything they do, Dipper always seems to come out on top. And Mabel felt like she was winning for once. Realizing that he is also at fault for basically cheating against the laws of nature, they reconcile with each other and work together to escape and stop Gideon. Not without some sacrifices.
Tell my story!
Don't worry, he's fine. Gideon finds Stan after breaking the mirrors and is about to shrink him, but falls into a laughing fit because Dipper and Mabel tickle him, which we found out earlier he hates. Stan, yet again not knowing what is going on, just rolls Gideon out, being defeated yet again. Dipper and Mabel manage to return to normal, and Dipper even lets Mabel keep her extra inch, which I am now realizing sounds mad out of context. I need to stop writing these at 3 AM. They break the crystal so this doesn't happen again, and the episode ends with Gideon back at home swearing revenge and saying he now wants the mystery shack, the actual physical building. He believes it is hiding a powerful secret. Also, Zeus might be small forever.
I've been trying to get your attention.
Glue.
Lots of glue.
Like I said, this was a special episode because it shows how season 1's more episodic structure was going to transition into having more of a serialized nature. There were a couple moments where characters did things slightly out of character to further the plot.
You'll never find Stan on the second door to the left down the hall. Wait, why did I say that?
But they were mostly well written along with the rest of the episode. A tier.
How can you laugh when you killed this boy's father?
Wait, what?
Now this is the de facto video game episode. Whenever shows try to pay homage to gaming and the video game world, I always hold them up to a certain standard. This is that standard. The episode starts in a rather unique setting for Gravity Falls, the arcade store, where Zeus is showing off the greatest games on Earth, and McGucket being McGucket.
I've been jigging for 7 days straight!
Zeus?
Dipper and Wendy are playing a game of Fight Fighters before they are interrupted by Robbie stealing Dipper's spot. Yeah, right now, Robbie and Wendy are dating, so Dipper sees this as a personal attack. I told you before, enemy for life. Back at the shack, the gang are chilling before Robbie shows up, trying to find Wendy and see if she can come to see his band play later.
I'll handle it. Conflict!
Dipper goes out and tells Robbie that if he listened to Wendy, he would know that she is out camping with her family. And Robbie sees this as Dipper challenging him. You know, Robbie is so insecure. He thinks he's cool squaring up to a kid. I told you this already, but I wouldn't wish Robbie as a partner on my worst enemy.
Why don't I call her right now and see if she wants to go out on a date with you?
You don't have to... What?
Hello?
What? My phone!
Does anyone else find that weird? He wants to ask his girlfriend if she wants to go out with a kid when they are already in a relationship? What is he doing? And the sad part is, this mimics reality. Some people are actually like this. Dipper accidentally breaks his phone, causing Robbie to want to have a fight with him one-on-one. How much more lame can this guy get? He even tells Dipper a time and location, so I guess he can get even more lame.
Just bonk him over the head. It's nature's snooze button.
Dipper is stressing because by the end of the day, he's getting beat up. So he is trying to play games to calm his nerves. He knocks over his coin at the side of the Fight Fighters arcade, finding a secret code. And once entering in the inputs, which are similar to old Nintendo hacks, it allows Rumble McSkirmish to leave the game and enter the real world. Rumble's pixel art and animation is just perfect. Even his idle animation still has him rocking back and forth like in any fighting game. Look at the way he interact with the environment around him. The fire is also pixelated, and the way he equips items is also just on point. You can tell there was a lot of love put into this episode, and the creators are actually video game fans who have played video games before. They even reference other games like Mortal Kombat and Donkey Kong. Rumble almost kills Robbie, Stan, and Mabel on the water tower. Yeah, they're here too because Mabel tried to do some exposure therapy and make Stan not afraid of heights, which she found out about in this hilarious interaction.
You want me to go get a ladder?
We don't have one. You know, studies show that keeping a ladder inside the house is more dangerous than a loaded gun. That's why I own 10 guns, in case some maniac tries to sneak in a ladder.
Dipper, realizing that he has created a monster and has basically become the bad guy, decides to fight Rumble like a man. I like how this doesn't give Dipper any superpowers or anything whatsoever because he still gets his ass beat. He only wins by losing. Robbie still wants to fight Dipper after all of this, and Dipper is ready, but Robbie shows that he truly is lame and a phony because he backs out anyway. They instead learn to hate each other in silence so they don't both lose Wendy. And as for Mabel and Stan, thanks to the exposure therapy, Stan is no longer scared of heights, but now Mabel is. Great episode. That shows how creative Gravity Falls can be whilst paying respect to another medium. It does contradict the lesson in the Dipper versus manliness episode a little bit, but I see it more as a knowing when to be a man and pick your battles rather than just wanting to fight all the time. This episode is so good, I think it deserves to be the first episode above the A tier, but it's not quite S tier level yet, so A+ tier.
What did you hear?
Everything. All the time.
Season 2 started off with a bang with the first episode. So many things got revealed. Most noticeably is the fact that if a UV light is used, it can reveal invisible ink in the journal. And that's what we are focusing on in this episode. While at Wendy's place and Dipper failing to tell her how he truly feels about her once again, Dipper experiences one of the most panic-inducing things any young boy could face.
Friends.
Dude, you're laying on my bra.
So Dipper instead invites Wendy on an adventure with Mabel and Seuss. Thanks to Dipper learning about the invisible ink, he thinks the author of the journals might be hiding under the tree at the location of where Dipper first found journal number 3. Wendy goes on to show how cool being a lumberjack is and making me question my profession before they all descend into the bunker. There, they find rations and equipment meant to last for decades, but it looks like no one's been here in years. However, they do find a recently opened can that makes them believe that someone is down here, so they go to investigate. But they accidentally trigger a trap that almost gets them all killed. Good job there was 4 of them here because they need to hit exactly 4 symbols to save their lives. Mabel finds Dipper's note and realizes that he still has feelings for her, and she forces them to shout together. Trust me, that sounds way worse than it actually is. Hey, animators, don't think I didn't catch this. You know, Mabel has done some questionable stuff in the series, but locking her brother and friend behind a mysterious door in a sketchy place hundreds of feet underground and won't let them out unless he confesses his love for Wendy is pretty despicable. I can see why some people didn't really vibe with Mabel as a character and thought she was a problem. And instead of just telling Wendy how he feels so Mabel can release them, Dipper decides to go deeper into the caves, where they find who they believe is the author. He's even voiced by Mark Hamill, so he must be important.
I miss orange juice.
Turns out he's actually a shapeshifter that was trapped down here. So after Mabel realizes her mistake and Dipper reveals his true feelings to who he thought was Wendy, Dipper is forced to make the age-old decision in every shapeshifter story. Who is the real Wendy?
Give me a sign!
I like how they brought back Dipper and Wendy's secret gesture from the inconveniencing episode and used it here for Dipper to know who the real Wendy was. After trapping the shapeshifter in a cryogenic pod, he reveals some vital information.
You will never find the author, and this will be the last form you ever take.
Good luck sleeping tonight.
God damn, Seuss. That's pretty dark. They all escape unscathed, and Wendy turns Dipper down because she is too old for him, and he agrees, but they still remain friends. Finally putting away this weird plot point that seemed to be in every cartoon at the time, where the main kid likes an older girl they have no chance of getting with. At least we won't have to see it again, right? Right? The episode ends with Zeus finding a laptop in a lab coat that might be a clue to who and where the real author might be. All round great episode. I felt like the story really progressed and the characters have grown from last season. Also, I feel like the episodes in season 2 flow better from episode to episode because they are working towards that mid-season finale. And every episode needs to count. A+ tier.
Don't come back. I don't care for y'all.
I know this might be a controversial take, but I truly believe the season 1 finale goes here. Now, before you flame me in the comments, I just want you to think for a second, what was the best part of the season 1 finale? You might say seeing Stan with all 3 journals, or Dipper literally taking a leap of faith to save his sister, or even maybe Mabel's grappling hook finally being useful after 19 episodes. These are all great, yes, but I believe there are certain moments in other episodes that could be considered way more impactful. But don't get it twisted, this episode is still phenomenal and a great finale for season 1. But there are some elements that I think that keeps this episode from truly being one with an S tier status. Let me explain. The episode starts with Dipper waking up from a nightmare that Gideon had taken over the shack, forcing all of them to live with Zeus and his grandma.
That was no dream, dude.
Yeah, Gideon finally won by getting the deed to the shack, no matter how illegal it might seem.
Mr. Pines, I recall you gave the property to me. Look, here's the deed right here.
Well, that's all the proof I need to see.
Now Gideon has control of the shack and he plans to demolish the surrounding area to build Gideon land. Of course, this is all a front for him so he can search for the secrets that Gideon believes are buried in the shack. Also, he somehow has custody of Waddles, so we definitely need to take him down now. But bum rushing the guy doesn't seem to work, getting them all kicked out. Not before getting a Gideon pin and Stan's hearing aid going off.
I'll show you who's the old man. Ow! Ah, my hearing aid!
Thanks for visiting Gideon, Lamb.
Oh, what's that? You didn't know Stan had a hearing aid? Well, get used to it because it is going to become 90% of his personality only in this episode. Since they've all been kicked out of the mystery shack, not only did they lose their home, but also their workplace. Stan is basically broke. Zeus has to take up like 100 different jobs and Wendy is being forced upstate. This causes Dipper to finally want to stand up to Gideon and defeat him once and for all.
Gideon may have the upper hand, but we have one thing he doesn't.
Journal!
Oh, the journal.
You already know that thing is going to come in clutch later. So they decide to use the gnomes as an army to beat Gideon. But Gideon gets the upper hand and even manages to get his hands on Dipper's journal. As if today couldn't get any worse for the twins, Stan decides to send them on the next bus back to California because he's broke and he can't look after them anymore. However, Gideon realizes that there are more than 2 journals and thinks that Dipper is hiding the first one for himself. So he has McGucket build him a mech to chase down Dipper. Zeus, the bus driver for one of his many jobs, tries driving away but gets stuck on the cliff edge that leads to the bridge we have been seeing all season. What is this bridge? Both exits lead to a dead end. Who was using it? Gideon throws Dipper away after realizing he doesn't have the other journal, and then we get the culmination of everything season 1 was building towards.
Face it, kid. You're nothing without that journal. No muscles, no brains. What are you gonna do?
Dipper learning to be a man and knowing when it's right to fight throughout the season comes to a head here, where he decides to fight for his sister. He jumps through Gideon's mech and starts beating him up. Hit him again. Hit him harder. I love that Gideon is in a mocap suit as well. It just makes sense. Dipper accidentally causes the mech to spiral out of control, causing them to all fall to their inevitable doom.
Grappling hook!
Told you that was gonna come in clutch. Although, how did they all survive? Especially Gideon. He was at ground zero of a nuke going off. The whole town is now here, and Gideon was about to get away with everything if it wasn't for Stan showing up.
Bam! These pins are hidden cameras, and my hearing aid was picking up the feedback.
Stan figures out that Gideon has been using hidden cameras in his Gideon pins so he can spy on everyone and know what they are all doing, basically keeping him one step ahead. And Stan's hearing aid, which he's always apparently had, was picking up the feedback. The town, obviously feeling betrayed, called for Gideon's arrest, and Stan gets his deed back. They return to the shack, fixing it back up, and Dipper finally tells Stan about the journal. However, Stan just laughs in Dipper's face and takes the journal to use as inspiration for more gift shop atrocities. But Mabel reassures Dipper, saying he defeated a mech without the journal's help. He's a hero in his own right. The season ends with us finally seeing what is behind the vending machine, and that Stan has had journal number 1 this entire time and has now got his hands on the other 2 journals. Putting them together allows him to operate a strange machine, leading to one of the coldest line drops you will ever hear.
Here we go.
Gives me chills even 10 years later. It really is a great episode. I love how it all relates back to the events of the season involving characters we have all come to know and love. However, I think season 2's finale does that way better, because this episode only really connects to episode 1 with the gnomes and the grappling hook especially. The idea of Gideon being one step ahead wasn't really shown as clearly as I think it should have been, and Stan figuring out how Gideon was watching them felt a bit contrived, which is strange with how great they set up and paid off everything else in this entire series. Stan's hearing aid just comes out of nowhere. But overall, a fine finale that sets up season 2 in the perfect way. A+ tier. Oh yeah, you know what time it is. Dipper pining for Wendy. You've seen it before and you're going to see it a whole lot more times. But we can forgive it in this episode because it's only the 7th episode of season 1. So the concept is still pretty fresh. And also because it led to this banger of an episode. So Stan is setting up a party to help promote the Mystery Shack to more customers. And he tells Dipper and Mabel to use his old copying machine to copy more flyers. They get there and while messing around with it, they find out that the copier machine can copy people too. I really like how they introduced the magical element in this episode so early on in the cold open, and it's done so casually. Later, Dipper volunteers to work the ticket stand all night with Wendy and promises to not run away. When Mabel teases him for liking Wendy and says he should just tell her how he truly feels, Dipper reveals his step-by-step plan on how he plans to talk to Wendy. Step 10 is to describe how she smells. Step 18 is to use deodorant. I feel like that one should be way earlier. I like how in Dipper's fantasy, when he finally dances with Wendy, he is so much taller. The party is finally underway and we see that Stan is still running his scams.
And if anyone wants to leave, I'm charging an exit fee of $15.
Only got 13. We're trapped.
I knew that flyer was suspicious. At the party, Mabel meets 2 girls who eventually become her friends, and this is also Pacifica's first appearance in the show. Hey, can you believe that this is Pacifica's one of her 4 major appearances in the entire series? Not counting the finale, of course. I guess she must have left a big impact on people, because I could have sworn she was in way more episodes than this. Goes to show how iconic of a character she is. Mabel's subplot is just her trying to make friends by beating Pacifica in a sing-off. She loses, however, and Pacifica sees her as a rival, and it goes to show that friends don't care if you win or lose. They like you because they like you. Whoa, that was deep. In the A plot, Dipper wants to enact his step-by-step list with Wendy, but Stan ain't letting him just leave money on the table.
What are you doing, kid? These suckers aren't gonna rip themselves off. Yeah!
If only Dipper could be in 2 places at once. Oh yeah, he can. I love how Tyrone, Dipper 2, that's what he wants to be called, is slightly less saturated because he's a photocopy. Keen eye to detail. While Tyrone deals with the money, classic Dipper tries talking with Wendy, but there's a problem. Robbie has steamrolled directly through Dipper's plans and fantasy apparently.
Robbie, you're a stupid, arrogant fraud.
I just had the same jealousy fantasy.
So what to do? If only Dipper and Tyrone could be in multiple places at once. Oh yeah, they can. This leads to Dipper creating multiple copies so they can do an overly complicated plan to get rid of Robbie. Not permanently, I know, it's sad, but it's so that Dipper can dance with Wendy.
Right, like I'm gonna fall for that.
But when Wendy starts talking to Dipper, which isn't supposed to be until step 9 by the way, Dipper is forced to improvise and they strike up a good conversation. We even learn why Dipper is called Dipper.
You know, kids used to make fun of my birthmark before I started hiding it all the time.
Show me, show me.
The Big Dipper. That's how you got your nickname.
Yeah. Dipper isn't his real name, guys. If you want to know his real name, you can find that out yourself, the same way I did. However, Dipper talking to Wendy was way off script, and the other copies don't like that, thinking that he shouldn't be the Dipper to dance with Wendy.
We said we weren't going to turn on each other. We all knew we were lying. No. Hey!
But none of them get to, mainly because Dipper genocided them, but because Robbie came back and sealed the bag. Hate him or, well, hate him, you can't lie. Robbie's got game. Dipper and Tyrone reconcile with each other as Tyrone drinks himself to death.
Quit being such a wimp around Wendy, okay?
It's so sad that Dipper didn't honor Tyrone's dying wish because we all know what happens in later episodes. This was a great episode that shows that sometimes you are your own worst enemy, and just because you planned every single step, it doesn't mean you should be tied down by it. Learn to be flexible and go with the flow. Also, this episode brings up a few questions. Where did the copier machine come from? How come Stan never realized what it could do? What happened to the 2 other Dippers who stole Robbie's bike? They could still be out there waiting for revenge. A+ tier.
Ah! Mabel, I've had it with the fun stick!
It took me a while to figure out between Double Dipper and Carpe Diem which one I liked more. If you haven't figured it out already, it turns out to be this one. So Mabel and Dipper are goofing around as usual before bedtime, and Dipper is very bad at golf.
Ah, my head! It hit me right in the head!
Is that important to know? Not really. I just really like that clip, and I'll be damned if I'm not getting my money's worth. Mabel mentions that her friends are coming over for a sleepover, and this absolutely terrifies Dipper. I remember when I was a teenager, which was like 8 years ago. Wow. I am old. And I remember I used to think, ugh, girls were the worst. Boys rule and girls drool. You get me? You remember those days? I even remember my best friend at the time used to question why do girls drool? And all of us would shun him for questioning the hierarchy. And when he went to hang out with the girls, we all cut him out of our lives until we realized how dumb we were. That being said, I understand why Dipper reacts like this, especially when one of the girls might be related to Donkey Kong. He would rather sleep outside and be attacked by a wolf instead of having any interaction with them. It got to the point that even Suze's break room is more appealing. Dipper thinks enough is enough and he wants to have separate rooms, and Mabel agrees. He's really harshing her vibe. They both tell Stan that they want separate rooms, but what is he going to do? It's not like he can make more rooms magically appear in the shack.
Dudes, I found some kind of secret hidden room in the shack.
Well, that issue solved itself. This extra room holds major significance. First of all, it proves that the building is more mystery than shack, and that this hidden room plus whatever is behind the vending machine, through subtle clues, you can figure out that this was Ford's, the author of the journal's, actual room. You can tell from the rainbow reflection from the prism on the table. It's similar to the one that was shown in a flashback. Stan even takes Ford's glasses and even looks at them thoughtfully later on. But now it has turned into a competition between Dipper and Mabel on who can suck up to Stan more so they can get the room.
Ah, Stan,
No!
you're a good uncle.
I'll kill you!
Back in the room again, Dipper and Mabel further instigate each other, causing Dipper to slap her hand away. This action causes them both to switch bodies.
This isn't happening! This isn't happening! This isn't happening!
Dipper figures out that the carpet, experiment number 78, the electron carpet, has the ability to swap minds.
Atoms can swap electrons. This carpet must build up a static charge so powerful it can swap minds.
I know none of that makes any real sense, but let's go with it. And instead of trying to change back, they use this opportunity to try and sabotage each other. Even Suze's words of wisdom aren't enough to convince them.
You know, the attic is a pretty good space. Maybe you two should appreciate what you got.
Let's go to that room!
And it makes sense, they're kids. They're using these cool inventions for their own selfish gains. Zeus soon joins in on the action as well by wishing he could have the easygoing life of a pig. So Zeus and Waddles swap bodies where Zeus is hunted down by McGucket, and Waddles proves to somehow be more competent than Zeus ever was by getting Zeus engaged as well as getting him a raise from Stan of all people.
Basically, I have to cut your pay. What are you doing? Fine, I was lying. I'll give you a raise. Just never do that again.
Later, Grenda and Candy return, kidnapping Dipper, and Mabel is forced to see the other side of her actions, causing her to get caught by Stan.
Ah, you're at that creepy age where you spy on girls, huh? Guess it's time you and me had a man-to-man talk about the birds and the bees, you know?
So Mabel gets her childhood ruined and accidentally helps Dipper win the key to the spare room. So this leads to Dipper, Mabel, Grenda and Candy swapping bodies trying to get the key. Even more chaos is introduced when Zeus and McGucket enter the room.
Cool! I'm Santa Claus!
I've regained my innocence!
Even the cops are here, answering a noise complaint. But who sent the complaint? The shack is in the middle of the woods, with no neighbors. The episode ends with everyone getting their bodies back and Dipper and Mabel seeing both sides of what each other is dealing with, and they never wanted different rooms in the first place. It's funny that Mabel knows why Dipper is awkward and sweaty and Dipper doesn't, because she had the talk with Stan. Realizing they miss each other, Dipper decides to do the thing he hates and has a sleepover with Mabel and decides to share a room again, giving the spare room to Zeus as a new break room. And remember, Dipper is still bad at golf.
Why am I even out here at night?
Hey, I got to get my money's worth, okay? All in all, great episode. We've seen the body swap episode and the clone episode in other cartoons, but I think Gravity Falls did a good job in spicing up the formula. The one thing I wish they did was have the voice actors try and talk in a similar way the other character would have. I think that adds an extra layer. Imagine hearing Kristen Shaw, which was Mabel's voice actor, talking like Dipper would, or anyone else saying the things McGucket would have.
Oh no, I changed back.
I'll still eat ya.
Okay, pal, that's enough of that. Move it along.
Weird old man.
Because I always find it weird when in body swap episodes, even though they are in different bodies, they talk with their own voice. 1. How does no one else notice that Mabel clearly sounds like Dipper? And 2. How would this even be possible? They swapped minds, not vocal cords. But other than that, everything else works well, adding more mystery with the carpet. But sort of similar to the copy machine, where did the carpet come from? We will never know. A+ tier.
There's something wrong with both of us.
This episode comes just before the season 2 finale and deals with the most suspicious thing in the entire series. Aliens. So, it's 1 week before Dipper and Mabel's 13th birthday, which is also the same time they are supposed to be leaving Gravity Falls and returning home. So Mabel wants to throw a big party at the shack and invite everybody, but Stan refuses because he keeps finding pieces of the undead from their last party. This is some nice continuity from the season 2 premiere that we will get into later. Zeus recommends to hire out the Gravity Falls High School gym instead, which I never thought about. Gravity Falls having a school? I guess that is where Wendy and all her friends would go. Mabel has to organize it by herself though, because Ford needs Dipper's help to contain the rift. Its case is cracking. And as we all know, if that thing breaks, Bill's big day will become a reality. Weirdmageddon. So Dipper has to help Ford find the adhesive that can help seal up the cracks. Personally, I'd say just put the case in another bigger case around it. Job done. But Ford takes Dipper to that impossible bridge from the season 1 finale and reveals a terrible secret. So the adhesive that Ford needs is alien in nature, and they can retrieve it from the spaceship that crashed right here in Gravity Falls. Now, this spaceship has crashed into this valley millions of years ago, and Ford even raided it for parts when he was building his portal. Was the spaceship attracted by the weirdness that was Gravity Falls? Or did the spaceship cause the weirdness around Gravity Falls? These are both valid questions. Whilst Dipper is having the time of his life with Ford, Mabel has found out that high school isn't as great as she thought it would be, and both of her friends won't be able to make it to her party for various reasons.
There is no escape from music camp.
So neither of you are gonna be at my birthday party?
Meanwhile, back in the spaceship, Ford is showing off how cool he is and why Dipper idolizes him so much. Ford's magnet gun is so cool. They managed to find the adhesive, but also alert the automated security droids that detect adrenaline. As long as you stay calm, you won't be detected. Dipper gets detected, forcing Ford to sacrifice himself in order to save him. But now he's on a one-way trip to some space prison with no hope of returning. So Dipper has to step up, and step up he does. Using the magnet gun, Dipper manages to bring down the pod, face off with the droid, and save Ford's life. Back at the shack, Stan comforts Mabel, who has had a rough day, saying that no matter what, she isn't alone.
At least whatever happens after this summer, you'll still have your brother along with you through thick and thin. Not everyone can say that, you know?
And Stan will know that more than anyone with how broken his relationship is with Ford. After waking up, Ford realizes how special Dipper can be and is impressed with him, even with his additions to the journal. Ford wants Dipper to stay behind in Gravity Falls and become his apprentice, and Dipper accepts. Mabel hears this over the radio and is heartbroken, so when Dipper returns from the best day of his life, Mabel, who has had the worst day, doesn't want to hear it.
It's part of growing up. Things change. Summer ends.
She runs off into the woods, taking Dipper's bag by accident. Hey Dipper, do you want to chase after her and make sure she's okay? No? Well, that's fine then. All Mabel wants is just a little more of summer so she doesn't have to leave everyone behind so soon. So of course, Mabel runs into Blendon of all people and he offers to make her a deal. He can make summer last longer if she can bring him a special little item, the rift. And Mabel, looking through Dipper's bag, gives him the rift, not knowing its importance. Yep, it was Bill all along, and with the rift now free, Bill can now tear open a gateway to chaos. Enter Weirdmageddon. The ending of this episode always gives me the chills. The heroes lose, Bill laughing, and Ford saying they're too late. It really sets the tone and gets you geared up for the finale.
We're too late. It's the end of the world.
People like to blame Mabel for Weirdmageddon happening, which I can understand to a point, but I have come to realize it's everyone's fault. Dipper threw his bag against the wall in his excitement, which had the rift in it. Why didn't Ford just keep a hold of that? And even Stan low-key scared Mabel into thinking that she could lose all her friends while trying to comfort her. But it is especially Ford's fault for telling Dipper to not tell anybody about the rift. Ford of all people should know that the lack of communication keeps putting the people he cares about in danger. But it is pretty bad that Mabel is willing to give away something of her brother's just for her own selfish desires. But that's what Bill does. He preys on you when you're at your weakest. But how did he manage to possess Blendon at all? I wonder what kind of deal Blendon would have made. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. This episode just has an unsettling aura throughout. Even the end credits lack their usual jokey nature, replaced with something more morbid. And I'm all here for it. A+ tier.
I know lots of things.
Lots of things.
It's the Bill Cipher episode and the introduction of one of animation's greatest villains. You've seen him in the background, you've seen him in the final flash of the title screen, you've even seen him in a death battle with Discord. But this is where it all began, the penultimate episode of season 1. By the way, did anyone else think this episode was titled Dreamscapers and not Dreamscaperers like me? Or was I the only one experiencing the Mandela effect in real time? The episode starts with the gang watching an advert made by Gideon, claiming that he will be taking over the Mystery Shack. However, Stan is calm because the only way Gideon can take over the shack is by stealing his deed. So of course Gideon breaks in trying to steal Stan's deed.
Oh no, not the broom!
The only way Gideon can unlock Stan's safe and steal the deed is by finding the pin in the one place Stan has it hidden, his memories. And this gives Gideon an idea.
It's time to unlock the journal's greatest secret.
Later, there's a bat in the kitchen and Stan forces Dipper to deal with it, much to Dipper's protest. After After somehow sustaining major injuries, Dipper complains that Stan always gives him the hardest jobs. He feels like Stan's picking on him.
The sink's clogged! Dipper, get in here and fix it!
Meanwhile, Gideon uses Journal 2 to set up a ritual and summon the dream demon Bill Cipher. And Bill Cipher's introduction is just iconic and adds a lot of extra lore. First of all, when he turns up, the world seems great and the trees look like they have eyes, further showing in Gravity Falls you never know who's watching and you never know who you can really trust. Bill says it's good to be back, letting us know that he has been here before. Of course, at the time we don't know why or how that's possible, but we later find out that he was helping Ford build the portal. He was his research partner in some ways. And when Gideon orders Bill to invade Stan's mind, just listen to the dialogue.
I have a job for you. I need you to enter the mind of Stanford Pines and steal the code to his safe.
Dan Pines. I'll help you with this, and in return, you can help me with something I've been working on.
Deal.
Gideon calls Stan Stanford because that is who he believes owns the shack, but Bill only calls him Stan because he knows Grunkle Stan is not what he seems. See what I did there? Pretty clever, right? Also, we see images on Bill who are believed to be Stan, but you can clearly see it is Ford, further showing the connection between the two. Bill shows off how powerful he is by ripping out a deer's teeth and putting them back, before accepting the deal with Gideon to invade Stan's mind, as long as Gideon helps Bill in the near future.
Remember, reality is an illusion, the universe is a hologram. Buy gold, buy!
Mabel and Seuss also saw all of this happen, so they rush back to the shack to warn everyone, but they're too late. Dipper reads his journal and realizes that there is a way for them to follow Bill into Stan's mind. Guess what we're doing tonight? So they all enter Stan's mind. I like how it is basically a rundown version of the Mystery Shack, and I also love how Bill refers to all the characters.
Question mark, shooting star, pine tree. I had a hunch I might bump into you.
I love how he refers to them by their symbols. The same symbol seen on the wheel in the title screen, further adding importance to it. So if you weren't paying attention to it before, you better now. Bill explains that they are in Stan's mindscape, and behind one of these doors is a memory of Stan inputting the code to his safe. It becomes a mad dash for who can find Stan's memory first. This leads to them seeing a bunch of weird things, like what Stan does in his spare time, or some things that Stan has referenced before, like Stan being in a Colombian prison once. Seuss even gets to see what Stan has been hiding behind the vending machine all season, and
if only people knew the truth, that hidden behind this vending machine, I secretly have
Boring.
Seuss, why? Why would she say that? Meanwhile, Dipper sneaks a peek at Stan's memories of him and believes that Stan actually hates him.
You want to know what I really think? I mean, look, the kid's a loser. He's weak. He's an utter embarrassment. I just want to get rid of him.
Anyway, Bill gets his hands on Stan's memories after Mabel figures out that Stan hides everything. When Mabel tells Dipper about Bill having the memory, Dipper doesn't care because Stan hates him. Mabel argues that it doesn't matter if Dipper feels bad because they will lose the shack if they don't stop Bill. But Dipper runs off, leaving Mabel to deal with Bill by herself, which she does, causing Gideon to cancel their deal, saying something about moving on to Plan B. This causes Bill to get angry, real angry, subjecting Mabel and Seuss to their greatest fear. While that's happening, Dipper goes back to the memory of Stan apparently hating him, and here's the end of the conversation.
He's a loser. He's weak. I just want to get rid of him. Those are all things people said about me when I was a boy.
Huh?
Push comes to shove, I'm actually proud of him. Just don't ever tell him that. His head's big enough as it is.
Why do people word sentences like that? Because of Dipper's misunderstanding, he left his sister in danger. But after finding out that Stan was only pushing Dipper because that's what his dad did for him, trying to make him a man and more reliable, Dipper realizes he is being stupid and even learns accidentally from Stan that he can control anything in the mind. With this new knowledge, he helps Mabel and Seuss defeat Bill.
I'll be watching you.
They all return back inside the shack and Dipper has a heartfelt moment with Stan. However, this is all blown away by Plan B, literally, with Gideon using dynamite to blow open the safe, getting his hands on the deed, and kicking the Pines family out, as well as destroying the Mystery Shack sign before cutting to a "to be continued" screen. This was a great episode, but we have to address the elephant in the room. Who let you in here? Sorry about that. Where was I? Oh yeah, Stan and Dipper's conflict. I'll be real, I didn't like it. Not because I don't think it was good, but because it came out of nowhere. Yes, Stan every now and then can be a bit of a jerk to everyone, not just to Dipper, but Dipper acts like Stan has been giving him the evil stepmother treatment all season. It was only in this episode that Dipper's anger can sort of be justified, and even then it wasn't that bad. And when you get past that, the misunderstanding scene is even worse. If Dipper listened just a second longer, he would have heard the whole truth earlier. And even after that, when he tells Mabel what he heard, Zeus could have chimed in and said that Stan was actually talking about himself. According to Stan's memory, he was telling this to Zeus at the time. That's just my personal gripes though, but everything else is pretty great. Just seeing Bill alone is enough to make this episode A tier at least. The episode was very creative with its visuals, and it really sets up for a memorable season 1 finale. A+ tier.
Nothing like sitting in a moist tub with strangers. It's like the bus, but wet.
It's the beach episode, and the deep end might be the most underrated season 1 episode in the entire show. I don't know exactly what it is, but this episode might be one of my favorites, even if it could be considered as filler. So, there's a massive heat wave in Gravity Falls, where spontaneous combustion isn't that spontaneous.
Wait, what?
This prompts Zeus and the Pines family to go visit the Gravity Falls pool that recently opened up.
Why would a son need to wear sunglasses?
You know, I never thought about that. So everyone is at the pool, including Wendy, who's a lifeguard. You know what that means. How is Dipper going to try and impress Wendy today? And becoming a temporary lifeguard seems to be his way in. If only it wasn't for the best one-off character in Gravity Falls, Mr. Pool Check.
Can you handle this? I lost my hand to a pool filter.
He was just doing finger ups. This guy is genuinely insane. Hey, cool piece of world building is that he was one of the guys that chased Dipper out of the bar in the Bottomless Pit episode, which may or may not be canon. Meanwhile, Stan's rivalry with Gideon is flaring back up as Mabel spies her brand new love interest. As great as Gravity Falls is, I don't think it passes the Bechdel test. Like, how many times is a Mabel episode going to be about her thirsting after a guy? Granted, that is all Dipper does in season 1 anyway with Wendy, so I guess equality? Zeus tells Mabel that he is a mysterious loner that showed up at the pool one day and never left. Not never left the park, never left the pool. Turns out his name is Mermando, and he's a merman and is trapped here.
And then the wolves came.
So Mabel decides to break in and help Mermando escape at night. After Stan is thrown into pool jail for putting his hands on a little kid, wow, I just realized how bad that sounds. He tries getting revenge.
Yes, yes, burn the child.
And when that doesn't work, he has a brilliant idea that can only work if Stan breaks in at night. Meanwhile, Wendy wants to abuse their power as lifeguards, but Dipper isn't too sure.
But what if Poolcheck catches us? He seems emotionally unstable.
Wendy manages to convince him anyway and even helps him trick Zeus into thinking that the pool supplies are alive. So I guess Toy Story exists in this universe. However, Mr. Pool Check is a bit sensitive about his pool.
You gave me your word that you would respect the sacred rules of this municipal pool!
Mr. Poolcheck, are you crying?
That's not important right now!
To show his dedication, Mr. Pool Check makes Dipper stay overnight so no pool supplies are stolen. So Dipper has to now not break into the pool at night. It's nighttime and Dipper is on high alert. Stan is the first to break in to enact his plan for revenge. But before Dipper can deal with that, he finds Mabel also breaking in. This is a bad night for night guards.
What, is Zeus here too?
I'm okay.
Go home, Zeus.
You got it.
He could climb in. Why can't he get out? But Zeus's distraction and Dipper's thirstiness allows Mabel to escape with Mermando in a cooler full of water.
Hey, look! Wendy in a bikini!
Really? At night?
Sorry, Pepper!
Stan, now in the clear, can set out to do what he wanted. Sit in his deck chair and wait 16 hours for the pool to open and laugh in Gideon's face for being first to the chair.
This was a good plan.
Dipper has to chase Mabel down, and I love how he uses water balloons as ammo. And wind causes Mamando's cooler to leak water, so Mabel finally gives up and shows Mamando to Dipper, begging him to save him because he's drowning? Airing? Whatever fish do on land, so Dipper has to give him reverse CPR to save his life.
Blackmail.
Why didn't you just roll me into the lake?
The episode ends with Mabel getting her first kiss and doing a free willy, Dipper getting fired for getting in too deep, Stan stuck in his chair because Gideon is a little shit, and Seuss gaining a nemesis for messing with Mr. Poolcheck's pool supplies, something he cares about deeply. Like I said earlier, I think this might be one of the best episodes of season 1. It is also cool seeing something weird that didn't originally come from Gravity Falls, as Mamando was captured in the Gulf of Mexico. It further proves Ford's hypothesis that there is weirdness worldwide, but it is really dense around Gravity Falls. Everything else just worked. The comedy, the story, the characters, everything worked to perfection. And speaking of the characters, everyone here was on point. Yes, Wendy brings out the worst in Dipper, but we also get to see a little more of what she is all about. Mr. Poolcheck is a great one-off antagonist that I wish we saw more of. He fits the bill perfectly for an unhinged Gravity Falls citizen. And how could I forget about Pool Boy? Remember pool jail? If you somehow commit an offense that is deemed worse than being sent to pool jail, you get sent to solitary.
It's the nights that are the hardest. Go, Mabel, go! We can't all be saved.
What do you think he did? What warrants having to serve a sentence year round? Tell me what you think he did in the comments below. A+ tier.
I will not be insulted by a man with no depth perception wearing earrings.
Just missing out on the top 10 is the Gulf War. Honestly, it was really hard to choose which episode should go here, because I think it's good enough to be considered S tier, but every time I compare it with the other S tier candidates, they are just a league above. I can't really explain it because this episode has everything going for it. Personally, I think this might be the funniest episode in all of Gravity Falls. Almost every single joke lands perfectly, and it's easily the best Mabel-centric episode. The episode starts off with Mabel excited that her fashion tips for squirrels will be the front page of the local newspaper, but instead, Pacifica's on there talking about how V-necks are in season. So to cheer Mabel up, they decide to take her to the Gravity Falls putt hut, where we find out that Mabel is really good at mini golf, or that Dipper is just really bad.
And
Mabel almost beats her all-time high score, but just falls short, and of course Pacifica is there to one-up her. She even gets a hole-in-one on the bonus hole, which is just a volcano. What is the budget for this place? I love how Dipper tries reminding her that her whole family history might be fraudulent.
how's that whole your family being frauds thing working out for you?
Great, actually. That's the thing about money. It makes problems go away.
It's always on site with Dipper and Pacifica. After Pacifica insults everyone and Mabel's golfing skills, Mabel finally snaps. Up until this point, Mabel has never really seen Pacifica as a rival. In fact, in all their prior encounters, Mabel only ever tried befriending Pacifica, getting shut down on various occasions. So seeing her snap here is kind of refreshing.
I want a rematch! You blocking one-dimensional bleach blonde Valley Girl stereotype!
Pacifica accepts her challenge, but since the park is closing, they'll have to return at midnight. Now this is going to be tricky because that will require them to break in, and breaking in is illegal. Good job Stan is a good and responsible adult.
Go to the golf course after dark, you say? I don't know, we'd have to break in, and just kidding, let's break in!
Before Mabel and Dipper leave Stan and Seuss in the car, Stan gives her a sticker to let her know that no matter what, she is the best. Aww. That's actually really sweet, coming from Stan as well. I wonder what the catch is. Whilst waiting for Pacifica, Mabel and Dipper discover that there are tiny golf ball people in clogs that live inside the machines and decide where the balls go. However, they have been locked in a year-long feud with the ball people of the Pirates, Knights, and French hole courses. Dipper thinks this is great, that Mabel can use them to help her win against Pacifica.
I want to beat Pacifica, but doesn't this seem like cheating?
Pacifica's rich, Mabel. She's cheating at life.
That is a great counterpoint. So Mabel is all in and will give her sticker to whichever group helps her defeat Pacifica. Pacifica arrives with her coach Sergey and the competition takes place. The golf ball people help Mabel get a head start while making Pacifica look like a fool. Meanwhile, Stan and Seuss get intimate?
Sure are a lot of stars out tonight.
Well, this is getting weird.
And then we get the infamous Big Henry scene. It's now the miners' turn to help Mabel, but there's a problem. There's been a gas leak. Anyone who enters will die. That's where Big Henry comes in, and I can't even put into words what happens next.
I will take it.
No! Don't go, Big Henry! We need you!
Come on, Big Henry.
I wish I could show you more because I will never be able to give it the due praise it deserves. And all of this on Disney Channel? I wonder how Alex was even allowed to get away with this. The miners better win that damn sticker or else Big Henry died for nothing. Mabel doesn't even know what they had to sacrifice. However, this causes the clogs wearing gold people to just kidnap Pacifica. What's better than beating Pacifica? Killing her, of course. They turn their windmill into some kind of Austin Powers trap, and Pacifica is even slowly edging towards it. Mabel realizes that the competition has gone too far, so she decides no one deserves the sticker because they can't learn to work together, eating it in a power move.
If we work together,
Then we could cut open her belly and get the sticker! Get the girl! Slice her open!
Well, that backfired. When I said it's on site with Dipper and Pacifica, I meant it, because Dipper is willing to leave her for dead and save himself. Luckily, Mabel is more sympathetic and saves Pacifica. They then all work together to escape the gold park, even using the bonus hole from earlier. Hey, real quick, here's an animation error you'll never be able to unsee. Mabel apologizes for almost getting Pacifica killed and even gives her a ride back home.
Singing the driving song. Headlights are out. Can't barely see where I'm going.
Never get in a moving vehicle with this guy behind the wheel. The episode ends with Pacifica learning what sharing is and how to have fun with kids her age, and the twins learn that no matter her background, she is just an ordinary kid like them.
Should have charged her for that taco.
Agree.
What a good episode. We get more Pacifica, which is always a bonus. She plays the part of a mean girl so well, and not to the point that she is annoying to watch on screen. This episode also answers the question of what the hell is happening in those mini golf contraptions. The golf ball people, or the Lilliputians? Putchians, I can't say it, were fun too, and clearly referencing the little people from Gulliver's Travels, or they're just Smurfs. Like I said before, every joke landed, even the subtle ones like Mabel drinking orange juice like it was a shot glass, or Sergey being kidnapped.
Don't freak out, man! The water's shallow! There's literally no way to drown!
A+ tier.
No, those aren't for him.
Starting us off in the top 10 is none other than Season 2's Northwest Mansion Mystery. This, along with another episode coming up if you don't count the finale, is what I would consider the most Gravity Falls style episode. It fits the tone perfectly. So, the Northwest's, Pacifica's family, is getting ready for their annual party. Suddenly, all the silverware starts floating around and attacking the residents of Northwest Manor. Pacifica's dad, Preston Northwest, complains about their ghost problem, saying that it's going to ruin his party tomorrow. If only there was someone that deals with the paranormal that they could hire on such short notice. Speaking of which, back at the shack, Mabel and her friends watch an advert hyping up the Northwest party coming this evening. Mabel and her friends went to attend, but you can't get in unless you're a multi-millionaire or was formally invited. Dipper doesn't understand why the girls want to go to a party that will be full of snobs and, worst of all, Pacifica. Remember, it's still on site with Dipper.
Pacifica Northwest is the worst. And that's not just jealousy talking. I'd say that to her face.
I need your help.
You're the worst.
On site? Dipper reluctantly agrees to help Pacifica with her ghost issue as long as she allows Mabel and her friends to go to the party. They all arrive at the manor and Dipper is ready to get to work. Using the journal, Dipper can tell what category of threat the ghost will be.
Ghosts fall on a 10 category scale. Floating plates sound like a category 1.
Pacifica takes Dipper to the room with the most recent ghostly activity, and the atmosphere is just perfect. The room is eerie and uncomfortable, hitting on that gothic horror vibe. The taxidermy animal heads mounted on the wall are oozing blood. Mysterious figures disappear from paintings, and once the lumberjack appears, it looks like a scene straight from hell. The way the animators show his ghostly flesh wrapping around his burning skeleton is just elite. Dipper quickly realizes that this is definitely higher than a level 1 ghost.
This book is gonna save our lives. Advice. Oh, seriously?
This is a level 10 mafia boss. They run for their lives as the lumberjack ghost chants about ancient sins and how he smells a northwest, dragging an axe along, legitimately trying to kill them. I love how the A-plot for this episode is Dipper and Pacifica literally dealing with the spawn of hell, whilst the B-plot has Mabel, Candy and Grenda fighting over a boy. Dipper learns that the way to beat a category 10 ghost is to trap them in a silver mirror. Well, it's a good job then that they're in the mansion of the richest family in Gravity Falls. Dipper finds the silver mirror, trapping the lumberjack inside, saving the day.
We did it!
Maybe it's not that on-site after all. There seems to be hints at a potential relationship growing between the two, and I will take anything over Dipper pining for Wendy again. But sadly, this never seems to go anywhere. Maybe if there was a season 3. Dipper leaves the party to go exorcise the ghost, but the lumberjack gives his backstory. He was part of the local folk that helped build the Northwest Mansion and were promised access to yearly parties on completion. However, when the work was done, the Northwest ancestors betrayed the lumberjacks, not allowing them entry. On top of that, a great mudslide swept up all the lumberjacks, killing them as their bodies spread throughout Gravity Falls. And with his last breath, this lumberjack cursed the Northwest.
So I said with final breath, 150 years I'll return from death. And if the gate's still closed to town, wealthy blood will stain the ground.
A curse which Preston and Pacifica knew about. They basically made Dipper do the hard work for them instead of just opening the gates to the town people, which would have solved the issue. Of course, feeling betrayed, Dipper confronts the Northwest because they had endangered everyone, even though they had the tools to fix everything. Yet they allowed their selfishness and their status to get in their way.
I was right about you all along. You're just as bad as your parents. Another link in the world's worst chain.
Pacifica tries to apologize, but Preston rings a bell, shutting her down completely. The implications of this bell are really sus. For Pacifica to react the way she does from just hearing it is really telling. Who knows what kind of abuse she may have suffered. So Dipper goes off to finally exorcise the ghost, but it manages to trick him and escape back into the manor. Damn, I didn't realize Silver was so fragile. The lumberjack causes chaos inside by bringing the taxidermy alive, levitating plates, and turning people into wood. With nothing he can do, Dipper looks for Pacifica because the only way to break the curse is if a Northwest opens the gates. Dipper finds Pacifica in a secluded room with portraits of every evil deed her family has committed. Pacifica is really sorry for lying to Dipper, explaining that she can't go against her parents, but Dipper reassures her that she can still make a difference. It's not too late to save everyone.
It's too late! You are all wood!
Everyone is now wood. The guests, the super reclusive mayor, and even Mabel and her friends. Dipper tries to stop the ghost, but he too is turned to wood. Funnily enough, he is frozen in the same position the shapeshifter said would be his final form in the bunker episode. And he might be right because the lumberjack starts setting the room on fire. This is really dark. He's going to burn everyone alive. Pacifica's had enough and is about to open the gate, but her parents appear, who have been hiding in a safe room, and they try to force her to not open any of the gates.
Our family name is broken, and I'm gonna fix it!
But Pacifica manages to break through her Pavlovian response and open the gates, allowing the riffraff entry into the mansion, breaking the curse. The episode ends all happy, with Pacifica and Dipper hanging out, and Pacifica more open to being just a normal girl, not being fully controlled by her parents anymore. And Grenda gets with Marius, winning his affection. But before you can relax, McGucket finds Dipper, telling him that he managed to fix the laptop, which was broken in an earlier episode, and it's counting down to something big.
Oh, this is bad! Something's coming! Something big!
But Dipper, after dealing with so much in one night, asks McGucket to drop it for a later time. What an episode. It had everything needed to make it one of the most Gravity Falls style episodes to date. It was both funny and intriguing with mystery, as well as being genuinely scary in certain moments. We got to see more of Pacifica and really understand why she is the way she is. And as someone who grew up in an African household, I can understand how Pacifica feels not being able to go against her family's word and do what she wants, to a certain extent. I just wish we got more of Pacifica, because this is her last major appearance, if you don't count the 3-part finale. Like I said, if there was a 3rd season, I bet something more would have been done with Dipper and Pacifica, but for now, I'm fine with where they leave her. And that ending with McGucket, that gets you hyped up for the mid-season finale. The B-plot was okay, didn't really add or take anything away from the episode, and was the reason Dipper was at the mansion in the first place. So because of that, this episode gets the privilege of being the first episode to be in S tier.
McSucket, they got me good.
Coming in at number 9 is the Society of the Blind Eye. It's so good that I can rhyme, and I did it on my own time. This has got to be the biggest gotcha moment in Gravity Falls. In universe and in real life, everyone has been trying to figure out the identity of the real author behind the journals. Apparently, some big-brained people figured out who the author was a little too early for Alex's liking, so he and his team created a whole elaborate scheme to get people to believe that McGucket was the author, the McGucket hoax. And I like to believe that this episode was just an extension of that. So the episode starts with Lazy Susan seeing a couple of gnomes stealing her pie. Obviously, seeing something horrific causes her to call the police, but before she could finish, she is kidnapped by a couple of mysterious individuals in red robes.
It is unseen.
First of all, is she going to be okay? And secondly, was she going to leave that pie out all night? We cut to the next day where Dipper is yet again trying to figure out who is the author of the journals, when Mabel comes in with a glass bottle saying she has a message from Mermando. Remember Mermando, the merman and Mabel's first kiss? Well, he is now in an arranged marriage with the Queen of the Manatees, trying to prevent a civil war. Like, it is crazy out there. This leaves Mabel heartbroken, but looking through the bottle, she and Dipper discover something written on the laptop they found from within the bunker.
McGucket Labs? Wait, Old Man McGucket? Old Man McGucket wrote the journal?
This makes so much sense. Whoever wrote the journals is clearly insane, and McGucket does have that bandage on 24/7. Maybe he cut off an extra finger. And don't forget, McGucket is a smart guy. He's built 2 functioning mechs that have been used for evil. They rush off to the scrap heap where McGucket lives, bringing Seuss and Wendy along with them for backup. But when they confront him about the fact that he is the most likely person to be the author, McGucket denies everything, saying he has no memory of such things and hasn't done anything worthwhile in his entire life. When Dipper flicks through the pages of the journal showing him, McGucket has a severe reaction to the symbol of a crossed out eyeball, the symbol for the Society of the Blind Eye. McGucket knows he's scared of them, but he can't seem to remember why. In fact, the earliest thing he can remember was being found at the Gravity Falls History Museum, so that's where they head to next. They find a secret entrance, which I think was cool because it can only be opened after you follow a bunch of eyes or looking at a specific relic. These guys are very on brand. Sneaking in, they find Lazy Susan freshly captured with her mind getting erased by a laser gun, putting her memories of seeing the gnomes in a glass tube. They follow the tube to the Hall of the Forgotten, where they realize that the Society have been removing the memories of Gravity Falls residents for a long time. This explains why whenever something supernatural happens to someone, by the next time you see them, they don't seem to be affected at all. This is a great in-universe way to explain why the Pines family have never been arrested or shunned by the townsfolk, since they seem to be at the center of anything weird going on. McGucket finds his memory tube in the honored section, but this triggers an alarm that alerts the Society. McGucket manages to hide, but this leads to the capture of everyone else. Here, we find out the true identity of the Society members. They are just some random townfolk we have been seeing all season, led by someone who we have never seen before. And even if we had seen them, it's been erased from our memory. Blind Ivan. Ivan explains about how in the past the people of Gravity Falls were tormented by the supernatural, so the Society took it upon themselves to help the citizens forget the otherworldly phenomena using the memory erasing device.
Now the people of Gravity Falls go about their lives ignorant and happy.
What about Old Man Man McGucket. He lives in a hut and talks to animals thanks to you. Don't you feel bad about that?
But not anymore.
And now, Dipper and his friends have learned too much, so Ivan plans to make him and his friends forget about the entire summer. Luckily, McGucket helps them escape and fight back. Have you ever seen someone being attacked by dysentery? However, Ivan has them cornered again, so McGucket sacrifices himself to save the rest of them.
But my mind's been gone for 30-odd years. You can't break what's already broken!
They wrap up all the society members and make them forget about the Society of the Blind Eye, stopping them for good. Finally, McGucket can now view his memories and see the man he used to be. It turns out Fiddleford H. McGucket was a genius inventor, and that he used to work with a visiting researcher, the true author of the journals, on building a machine which was supposed to help mankind. However, something went wrong, causing him to quit, but then he became haunted with the memories of what he'd done. So McGucket invented the ray gun and wiped out his own memories. He was the original founder of the Society of the Blind Eye, and he kept wiping more and more until the society forgot their founder, and he forgot who he was. Now that McGucket knows the truth, he promises to work to put his life back together. Maybe start reconciling with the son we all forgot you have. The episode ends with everyone learning that trying to forget everything bad isn't a positive. We should learn from those experiences and move forward. Also, we see Stan working on the said machine that McGucket was so scared of. What could this mean? Another banger of an episode, because it turns a relatively joke character in McGucket into a tragic one who has suffered loss. It goes to show that even people considered to be useless by society may be more important than we first thought. I love how this episode single-handedly explains how each episode we can get away with crazy shenanigans and no one will bat an eye, since everyone in town is basically operating on half an operating system. This also explains why there are some unique personalities in town and why some people act completely strange. Not Toby though. That guy is just weird. S-tier.
Not today! My eyes!
As well as being the best season 1 episode in my opinion, Summerween is what I would consider the most Gravity Falls style episode. If I was in that writer's room, I would say that every episode should have the same vibe as this one or Northwest Mansion Mystery. Also, Summerween is a cool way to have the Halloween episode in a series that takes place over the summer and still makes sense. Apparently, the residents of Gravity Falls love Halloween so much that they celebrate it twice a year, and that happens to be today. So after literally robbing the Summerween store for supplies, they all prepare for Summerween later tonight. Mabel is so excited that Dipper and her can go trick-or-treating with their twin costumes meant to complement each other, but Seuss tells them the tale about the Summerween trickster. If children do not have enough Summerween spirit, the Summerween trickster will come and eat them alive. However, they don't take Seuss too seriously as they count up the candies Dan gave them to give out.
Mr. Adequate Bar?
Cheapo loser candy!
It's nice to see that Stan spared no expense. Dipper throws out the loser candy, unaware that someone is watching him, and when he goes to open the door for the first trick-or-treater of the night, he is scared by the sight of Wendy and Robbie. They think Dipper isn't going trick-or-treating because Wendy believes that trick-or-treating is just for kids, which Dipper reluctantly agrees with. Wendy invites Dipper to a party, which he agrees to go to, but he has to lie to Mabel and her friends that he can't go trick-or-treating with them because he is feeling sick. That's when the doorbell rings again, but this time it is a tall, lanky figure, which they mistaken at first for a trick-or-treater who is way too old for this, but they soon learn that he is in fact the Summerween trickster.
My name is Garney. Remember me!
Garney! No! But he was in the spirit! But I do love the Summerween trickster's design. He is both creepy and intriguing in a way that most villains aren't. And something about that smiley-faced mask makes him feel iconic. He looks like he came out of a Tim Burton movie or The Wizard of Oz. But eating Garney shows how severe the situation is. The trickster gives them a mission. Since Dipper has disrespected Summerween, they have to collect 500 pieces of candy by the time all the jack-o'-melons in town have gone out. If not, he'll eat them like he did Garney. Now usually, this would be a terrifying ordeal for some kids, but one of these kids is Mabel, and she only sees this as an absolute win, and further incentive for Dipper to go trick-or-treating with them. So they go trick-or-treating along with Seuss, but Dipper's attitude isn't helpful, causing them to not only get one piece of candy each, but it's loser candy as well. Dipper, I get you don't want to be here and want to go to a party, but your lives are on the line here. Something the trickster comes to remind them about. This forces Dipper to actually get serious and change into his costume. Isn't it magnificent? Thanks to their combined costumes, they managed to get 499 pieces of candy. Dipper is left to guard the candy as the rest go and get the last piece. Unfortunately, Wendy and Robbie show up in their van, causing Dipper to take off his costume and push the candy behind a bush. Dipper says he will be at their party soon, but Mabel catches him and realizes he has been lying to them the entire time. Dipper tries to defuse the situation by saying it doesn't matter anymore since they have all the candy now.
I left it right here, behind this bush. Oh no.
Now, in defense of Dipper, who could have guessed that there was just a giant chasm behind that bush? With the candy gone and the last jack-o'-melon gone out, the trickster comes to follow up on his promise. Luckily, Seuss has a truck. Did Seuss just commit a murder? Well, thankfully, the good thing is that the trickster isn't dead and chases them down. Wait, that's not good at all. The chase causes Seuss to crash into the Summerween store from the beginning of the episode, causing them to hide from the trickster Jurassic Park style. This also gives Dipper and Mabel a chance to have a much needed conversation.
I felt like I was getting a little too old to go trick-or-treating.
That's exactly why we need to go trick-or-treating, Dipper. We're getting older. There's not that many Halloweens left.
That is what Gravity Falls as a show is all about. The uncertainties and fears about growing up. Nice to see that they can still sort out their issues whilst hiding for their lives from an eldritch horror. They almost manage to escape, but Seuss's broken sense of humor gets him eaten. This forces the kids to fight back and realize that the trickster tastes like candy. Well, that's because he is candy. Loser candy. He was an amalgamation of pieces of loser candy no one ever wanted and tossed into the dumps by, guess who? These three. I told you these three teenagers are the most notorious villains in the entire show. Seuss eats his way out of the trickster since he is candy, and that makes the trickster so happy. All he ever wanted was people to eat and enjoy him, even his disgusting candy corn tears.
What's up, Gorny?
Traumatized.
Gorny! He lives! The episode ends with Dipper learning to spend quality time with his family and not be ashamed by it. And they all get candy after all, because in the B-plot, Stan struggled to scare a couple kids with some pretty great gimmicks. But he learned that being himself is scary enough and takes the candy they left behind. What a nice wholesome ending to an episode.
I ate a man alive tonight.
S tier.
I've come this far. Who could possibly catch me now?
Lucky number 7 is Season 2, Episode 1, Scary Okie. For the premiere of the second season, trying to follow up on the big question that Season 1 left us off with, what is Stan up to? Why did he have journal number 1? What is the machine he is trying to get online? Is Stan bad? And after leaving us off on a cliffhanger for almost a full year, Scary Okie had big shoes to fill. And they did. The episode starts where the Season 1 finale left off, with Stan working on the mysterious machine that he claims he has been working on for 30 years. With the help of the 3 journals, he can finally operate it. Powering up the machine sends energy surges throughout town. Energy surges that are picked up by the government, surges they haven't seen in 30 years. They manage to pinpoint the origin of the surges, dispatching government agents to Gravity Falls. The next day is the grand reopening of the Mystery Shack after Gideon took over, and the Pines family are organizing an after party. Mabel adds that they will be performing karaoke together under the name Love Patrol Alpha.
Well, I don't know about that.
I would never agree to that ever.
Later, Dipper asks for his journal back because at the end of last season, Dipper finally told Stan about the journal and Stan took it for research. Dan pretends that he didn't care too much for it, but in reality, he copied every page so he can always have it on hand. Back in their room, Dipper tells Mabel that they are halfway through the summer, yet they are no closer to solving all the mysteries in Gravity Falls, or the journal. Mabel assures him that there is nothing left to solve. Half the pages in the journal are blank anyway, but Dipper isn't convinced. He feels like there is something missing. That's when the government agents show up, Agent Powers and Agent Trigger. Stan tries distracting them, knowing full well why they might be here.
What can I get you? Keychains? Snow globes? These rare photos of American presidents?
However, Dipper excitedly tells them about the journal and suggests that they work together. Powers gives him his business card in case Dipper finds anything, but Stan discredits Dipper and tells the agents that he has an overactive imagination. This gets the agents to back off for now and annoys Dipper because Stan confiscates the card. Later, as the party is getting started, Dipper vents about losing his chance with the agents to Wendy. She tells him the card is likely in Stan's room and encourages him to try and get it back. They sneak off as the guests begin to arrive. Wendy keeps a lookout as Dipper looks through Stan's stuff, some of which are questionable at best. Dipper eventually finds the card and calls Powers, setting up a meeting spot. Unfortunately, Stan shows up as Wendy got distracted. As a result, Stan sends Dipper and Wendy away as he sneaks downstairs to work on the machine. Dipper goes to meet with the agents anyway, showing them the journal. However, the agents don't buy the weirdness in the journal, leading them to dismiss Dipper as a kid with an overreactive imagination. This causes Dipper to try and prove to them that the journal is real.
Corpus levitus, Mondo Vicia! Good thing it was just that one.
But it wasn't only that one. Hundreds of zombies rise up from the ground attacking them. They even managed to drag Powers and Trigger away. They will be missed. Dipper just killed the fence. At the time when I first watched this episode, I was just confused. Why are their bodies just all over Gravity Falls? Was there a mass grave? But now after doing this ranking, I realized that in the Northwest Mansion mystery episode, we learned that the lumberjacks who worked on the mansion were swept away and died in a mudslide that spread across Gravity Falls. So that means that these zombies are most likely the deceased lumberjacks. That's pretty dark, and I love it. Dipper quickly returns to the shack where chaos ensues as the zombies are taking over and everyone flees, leaving only Mabel, Dipper and Seuss. Good job, Seuss knows everything about zombie movies and how to stay safe.
I'm gonna flip the script. Can I? Eat your brains.
I think I actually prefer Seuss as a zombie more. He's still sentient, but now craving brains.
I taught the zombies how to get into the fuse box. Among these dudes, I'm like a genius. Get those brains, dog!
Dipper is about to get eaten, but is saved by Stan, who finally decided to show up, telling the kids to escape to the attic. Stan is just so cool here. With no idea of what is going on, he's using brass knuckles to beat up the zombies. And in the attic, we get a revelation.
Well, at least you can't deny magic exists anymore, right?
Kid I've always known.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Finally! Now everyone is caught up. Stan explains the reason he was denying it for so long was because he was trying to keep Dipper and Mabel out of danger, which makes sense. If you were a responsible adult or trying to be, you wouldn't willingly send kids into danger looking for this stuff. Dipper says that usually the journal has an answer, but the other pages are blank. Dipper walks in front of a black light, which reveals invisible ink. This is a huge revelation for both Dipper and Stan, as they realize there is extra information they didn't know about. Dipper quickly learns that the way to beat zombies is with a perfect 3-part harmony. Oh no, you know what that means.
Together with Love Patrol Alpha!
I never agreed to that name.
Mabel, our lives may not be worth this.
How lucky are they? I wonder how the author figured that one out. So through the power of friendship and singing, they defeat the zombies. Stan agrees to let Dipper keep the journal, but only for self-defense, as long as he doesn't go looking for trouble. And Dipper agrees as long as Stan isn't hiding any more secrets from them. They both cross their fingers behind their backs, so it looks like everyone's lying to each other. The episode ends with Seuss still a zombie. However, since it's magic, it might wear off in the future. Dipper, using the black light, learns that the author might be hiding in the location where Dipper first found the journal. And we find out that the agents aren't dead. They now have the proof they need to know that this is the town they are looking for, and decide to keep an eye on the Pines family. What an episode! So many things got revealed. The journal has hidden entries. Dipper now knows that Stan knew about the weirdness this whole time. And we have a new threat. The agents. If you look closely in the background of later episodes in season 2, you you can see them keeping an eye on them, gathering evidence. My one issue about this episode is that when Dipper was feeling like there is something he's missing about the journal, the show makes an effort to show that magnifying glass that is linked to it. You would think that thing would be useful, but they never use it all season, a bit like the President's Key. But other than that, I love how it links directly into the next episode with Dipper going to look for the author, ST.
Oh! I'm not okay.
At number 6 is Sock Opera. This is a special episode because it's technically the second time that we see Bill where he is a major threat, and any episode with Bill in it is an instant classic. The episode starts with Dipper and Mabel in the Gravity Falls library. They are finally able to open up the laptop they found in the bunker after Seuss had fixed it. However, there is a password. Dipper wants to start cracking the password with Mabel's help, but she is distracted by a puppeteer, Gabe. It's love at first sight for her, but Gabe is only interested in people who are as puppet crazed as he is. So Mabel makes up a story detailing how she loves puppets and is even putting on a puppet show next week.
How hard do you think it would be to write and compose a sock puppet rock opera with lights, original music, and live pyrotechnics by Friday?
What?
Dipper agrees to help her with her puppet show as long as she helps him crack the password once they finish the preparations. She agrees, and over the next few days they get to work with help from Seuss and her friends. During the night, Dipper tries cracking the password by himself but with no luck.
I hate you sound!
I am surprised that with so many failed attempts, he hasn't been locked out completely by now. And just like a good friend to pick you up when you're feeling down, guess who shows up? Bill, have I got a deal for you, Cypher? Bill toys with Dipper, saying he would help Dipper crack the password if he agrees to do a small favor for him. And Dipper obviously refuses. Bill is not a guy you can trust. But how can you not trust Bill? Look at this guy. He comes with gifts.
Have a head that's always screaming.
Dipper reminds Bill that they defeated him before, and Bill just laughs in his face. That's why he's my goat. Bill tells Dipper that the offer is still on the table before Dipper wakes up. The next day, Dipper tiredly tells Mabel about his encounter with Bill, but Mabel reassures him that she's ready to help him now. But Gabe showing up criticizing a puppet show of another girl he just attended causes Mabel to take back her promise. Angrily, Dipper storms off, yet again trying to crack the password. However, this time, the laptop security systems finally kick in. After too many incorrect passwords, the laptop prepares to initiate a data wipe in 5 minutes, unless the correct password is used. Panicking, Dipper doesn't know what to do, and of course, Bill shows up once again. Bill gives Dipper an ultimatum: either accept his deal now, or have the laptop secrets erased forever, and all Bill wants is a simple puppet. Dipper still refuses. Mabel worked really hard on these puppets. He couldn't just give one away.
Besides, what's your sister done for you lately? How many times have you sacrificed for her, huh? And when has she ever returned the favor?
And this right here is one of the most controversial talking points in Gravity Falls. Dipper has to sacrifice so much for Mabel every time that even the main villain of the series calls her out on it. It seems that Mabel is allowed to get away with so much. Most of it is honestly not her fault, but some of it does feel kinda selfish. But at the end of the day, everyone does bad things for selfish reasons, and good characters need flaws. It's what makes them enjoyable and relatable. But right now, Dipper doesn't have time to think about any of that, as his chance is slipping away. Dipper reluctantly agrees and makes a deal with Bill.
So what puppet are you gonna pick anyway?
Let's see. Eeny, meeny, miny.
Ow! What?
Oh, Dipper, you really should have seen that coming. So Bill now has control of Dipper's body, and the first thing he does in it is destroy the laptop. All that hard work gone to waste. But Dipper has a more pressing issue. Since he hasn't got his body anymore, he is now a ghost-like consciousness floating around. And Bill tells him that no one can hear him without a vessel. After destroying the laptop, Bill has fun taking his new body out for a test drive and to also find Dipper's journal to destroy it. But Dipper has it hidden in a place Bill will never find.
Borrowed your journal to use as a prop in the show. I hope you don't mind. I'm gonna go before you process the sentence. Okay, bye!
Well, shit. Now it's a mad rush to the show, but without a body, Dipper can't ask anyone for help. And with Bill getting a role in the show so he can get to the journal quicker causes Dipper to have to think fast. Since Dipper can't be heard without a vessel, Dipper needs to find one. And wouldn't you know it, there are a lot of puppets available.
Mabel!
Puppet books didn't warn me about this!
telling Mabel what happened, Mabel promises to help get his journal back, as long as he helps to keep her show running. Mabel is close to getting the journal, but slips and is caught by Bill Bipper. Bill tells her to hand the journal over because she is at risk of ruining her show and her chances with Gabe. Bill even taunts her with all her actions in the past, and she realizes that she has been selfish.
Who would sacrifice everything they've worked for just for their dumb sibling?
Dipper would.
Hey!
Mabel sacrifices her play for Dipper, even helping to get Dipper back in his body by exploiting all of Dipper's weaknesses. The episode ends with Mabel apologizing for being selfish and dodging a bullet with a creep like Gabe, and Bill is defeated once again in a tragic manner for all Puppet fans. This episode really points out the flaws of the twins and what they need to improve on in the future. Mabel can let her selfish desires stop her from doing the right thing, and Dipper is way too obsessed in solving a mystery that he fails to acknowledge anything else. And this is great foreshadowing because these two flaws also land them in Weirdmageddon in the first place. So in a way, this episode is kind of foreshadowing the mistakes they make in the run-up to the finale. The jokes are great as well, and Bill always brings a sense of stakes like no other character does. S-tier.
This world was created by Bill.
Breaking into the top 5 is Weirdmageddon Part 2. Weirdmageddon as a whole is one of the best animated finales to a show I have ever watched. But if I had to pick the weakest section of Weirdmageddon, it's Part 2. It's still a very good episode, hence why it's S tier, but when compared to the rest of Weirdmageddon, I feel like they give us that little bit extra. The best way I can describe Weirdmageddon Part 2 is that it's like a sugar rush. You're on a never-ending high. You see what I mean. It's day 4 of Weirdmageddon, and Bill's reign over Gravity Falls is still going strong. With Ford captured and most of the townsfolk turned into stone to be used as a throne of agony for Bill, it feels like defeat is inevitable for our heroes. Taking over Gravity Falls is good and all, but Bill wants to take his party worldwide. But he soon finds out that some sort of force is keeping Weirdmageddon contained in Gravity Falls. Maybe someone knows a thing or two about this. Meanwhile, Dipper, Seuss and Wendy find themselves in a world full of wonder, Mabelland. This is Mabel's prison. Bill had boasted that he had built his best trap ever with Mabelland, and now we understand why. You're in a world where everything is perfect, cars go 60 miles per hour, and you can eat burgers with a pudding center. Why would you ever want to leave? But Dipper isn't buying it. It is a creation of Bill's after all, so they quickly rush to break Mabel out, but she doesn't want to leave. In fact, Bill had given Mabel powers in her prison, further giving her a reason not to leave. Since Mabel wanted summer to last longer, Bill granted her wish by trapping her in this everlasting bubble of fun. Bill's trap is so powerful that it even creates reasons for others to want to stay. Wendy gets to hang out with her friends all day, and Seuss gets what he always wanted.
There's nothing in this world that could break me from our mission. Holy, whoa. Dad?
I can't really blame the guy, but Dipper isn't swayed too easily, still trying to convince Mabel to come back to reality. But Mabel wants her fantasy to last forever, where she never has to grow up or leave Gravity Falls, and she knew Dipper wouldn't understand. That's why she made a backup Dipper, Dippy Fresh.
Hey, take a chill pill. Those grow on trees here.
You stay out of this, Dippy Fresh!
Dude, calm down.
With no luck of getting through to Mabel, Dipper talks with Wendy, trying to figure out what to do next. Wendy says that Dipper is smart and always figures something out. If he was older, he'd be her dream guy. Dipper is excited, but quickly realizes that this is another one of Bill's tricks. I love how he could tell that this wasn't Wendy from the fact that Wendy didn't do their secret gesture. Dipper doesn't know what else to do except break Mabelland's one rule.
We have to go back to the real world! Hey!
So Dipper is forced to defend himself in a court of law, where the jury is not stacked in his favour. Mabel, with her prosecutors, give all the reasons why they shouldn't return to the real world. It sucks, and your friends don't come to your birthday. But Dipper proves that yes, life does suck sometimes, but the bad doesn't have to outweigh the good. Also, he isn't going to take Ford's apprenticeship and stay behind in Gravity Falls after the summer. This really resonates with Mabel because her main issue with summer ending was that she thought she would be alone, isolated from all her friends and even her brother. However, thanks to her now accepting the idea of returning to the real world, Mabel has lost her powers over Mabelland. So before Bill's prison can take them out for good, Mabel, Dipper, Seuss and Wendy all escape on waddles back to reality.
I mean, come on, the real world can't be that bad, right? Oh boy.
The episode ends with the gang deciding to take shelter in the Mystery Shack, where they find the remaining people in Gravity Falls, including Stan, hiding from Bill and his minions. This episode repairs the broken relationship between Dipper and Mabel, which is vital in defeating Bill, and is the episode that sets us up perfectly for the final part, S tier.
Quick question. What the heck is going on here?
At number 4 is A Tale of Two Stans. The mid-season finale just happened, and we now know who the mysterious author of the journals was. Stan's long-lost twin brother who found himself traveling dimensions, Ford. But if you were ever wondering what events took place that led us to this very moment, then you're in luck, because this episode explains everything. And I mean everything. The Pines and Seuss are trapped under the Mystery Shack because the government agents are still looking for them above. Stan goes to hug the author, however, he gets a punch to the face instead and refuses to thank him for freeing him from the portal.
This was an insanely risky move, restarting the portal. Didn't you read my warnings?
And he's voiced by J.K. Simmons, as if he wasn't cool enough. The twins and Seuss quickly realize that the author is Stan's twin brother Ford, which is short for Stanford.
I have some questions about all this myself, Stanley.
But your name is Stanford.
Wait, you took my name?
The Stanford we thought we knew this entire time is actually called Stanley. This causes all of them to want an immediate explanation, even though they are being hunted down by the government as we speak. Stan caves in and decides to tell them his intriguing yet tragic tale.
Hoping all this aligns exactly with my fanfic, Stan. If not, I will be very disappointed.
Stanley and Stanford grew up in New Jersey's lead paint district during the 1950s, where Stanford would get bullied for his rare birth defect, 6 fingers on each hand. Stan thinks that the 6 fingers also explains why Ford was interested in sci-fi weirdness. Even though they couldn't have been more different, they were inseparable, going on adventures together like building the first Stan War. As Ford got older, his brains got more impressive. He even had the chance to join an elite university with his science project. But with the fear of being left behind, Stan's jealousy got the better of him, causing him to accidentally ruin his project and ruining his chance of getting into his university. This incident causes them to not see eye to eye anymore, forcing Stan to leave home, just as Dipper and Mabel's grandfather, Shermie, is born. Because Stan's dad was angry that Stan ruined their chances of becoming rich, Stan dedicated his whole life to getting enough money to prove his family wrong. However, his products were shady at best.
That's the sham total. It's a total sham.
Stan has now gotten banned from many states and countries, using fake identities to travel to new places. Meanwhile, Ford decided to study the weird things in the world, and after some research, Ford pinpointed the place in the world with the highest concentration of weirdness, Gravity Falls. He decided to move there, where he got the help of the locals to build his house and went around town recording all his research. It's so cool how you get to see Ford interact with all the things Dipper and Mabel had seen later on, like the shapeshifter. But with all these findings, he can't possibly remember them all.
I began to keep a journal.
The journals!
Dipper, I am right there with you. Later, Ford believed that all the weirdness in Gravity Falls had to originate from another dimension, so he decided to build a portal that will help him get there. Ford got some help from his old college buddy Fiddle Ford McGucket, whose technical know-how helped complete the portal. You know, it's funny. Ford says that McGucket was waiting his life away building personal computers in his garage. If Ford never called him, McGucket might have been Bill Gates. Remember, this is all happening in the 70s. And instead, we all know what happened to him. He went insane and is in it deep with his raccoon wife living in the dumps. For now, McGucket helps Ford build his portal underneath his house. However, after the first test run ends with McGucket almost getting sucked in and acting strangely afterwards.
Fiddleford? When gravity falls and Earth becomes sky, fear the beast with just one eye.
McGucket tells Ford that the portal is too dangerous and needs to be destroyed, but when Ford refuses to lose all his hard work, McGucket quits, which leaves him to wiping his own memories and creating the Society of the Blind Eye. But soon, Ford began to hear voices and realized that maybe McGucket was right about the portal. Ford could now only rely on the only person he could trust, his own twin brother. Ford gets Stan to come to Gravity Falls and asks him to hide the first journal far away from Gravity Falls so no one can operate the portal. Stan thinking Ford wanted to reconnect with his brother after all these years, doesn't take Ford's instructions too well. He basically told him to disappear, the same thing that happened the night they last saw each other. Well, since Ford wanted Stan to get rid of the journal, Stan decides why not cut out the middleman and just burn it right here. But Ford, not wanting his research to be totally destroyed, lashes out. This causes the two of them to fight, leading to Stan getting his tattoo. That's a little sneak peek to the shorts review. However, Stan comes out on top, punching Ford, which causes him to accidentally activate the portal.
Well, then you can have him!
Stanley, help me!
Oh no, what do I do?
Stanley!
In the heat of the moment, Stan accidentally sent his brother through the portal, trapping him in another dimension, only leaving his glasses and journal behind. And without knowing how to operate the portal or where Ford hid the other two journals, Stan has no chance of getting his brother back. After weeks of trial and error with no success of getting Ford back, Stan is forced into town to buy groceries, but he has no money. There, he meets younger versions of all the characters we have gotten used to throughout the series. They believe that Stan is Ford and are really interested in his weird house, wondering if he gave tours. Stan agrees to give people tours in order to get money.
What did you say your name was, you man of mystery?
Oh, Ford. Stanford Pines.
To further assume his brother's identity, Stan faked his own death in a car crash to bury his past. Thus, the murder hut, later renamed the Mystery Shack, was born. Stan spent his days doing something he was actually good at, conning people, and his nights trying to figure out the portal. And that's what he's been doing for the last 30 years. Dipper now realizes that Stan was only trying to save his brother, apologizes for his lack of trust in him in the last episode, and Stan forgives him because that's what family does. However, it's too late. Remember those government agents? Well, looks like they finally found them.
Oh man, I was so spellbound by your dramatic tale I forgot all about those dudes.
This gives Dipper the idea to use the memory eraser on the agents. Ford amplifies the signal, wiping the memory of all the agents in the nearby area, getting them to forget about their investigation and leave them alone for good. The episode ends with Ford allowing Stan and the kids to stay in the shack, but only till the end of summer. Then after that, Stan would give everything back to Ford. His home and his name.
On one condition, I don't want them in danger. They're the only family I have left.
And finally, Mabel and Dipper promise each other to not grow up and turn out like Stan and Ford. This episode really changes your perception of everything we've seen so far. We got to see the origins of the author, the Mystery Shack, how Stan became a conman, and all the weirdness in Gravity Falls. You also see how close Stan and Ford were before their relationship soured. It acts as a tale of warning for our mystery twins today of what could happen if they don't get along. S-tier.
Welcome one and all to Weirdmageddon!
The bronze medal goes to Weirdmageddon Part 1. It takes place right after the events of Dipper and Mabel vs. the Future, where Bill has gotten his hands on the rift and is now in his conquering Gravity Falls arc. Thanks to the rift opening, this allows Bill to finally take physical form. Up until this point, we've only ever seen Bill through the mindscape, but now he can affect the world for real.
You can call me your new lord and master for all of eternity!
Blendin, who was just being controlled by Bill, sees the chaos and is helpless as Mabel's unconscious body is lifted up and sealed in a pink bubble, her prison. The only thing Blendin can do is tell the Time Paradox Avoidance Agency the situation before teleporting away. It's so admirable that the townspeople, confronted with all this chaos with no clue of what is going on, are still trying to stand up to Bill. Well, most of them anyway. Pacifica's dad tried brokering a deal, but Bill isn't much of a negotiator.
As a rich capitalist, I welcome your tyrannical rule.
How about instead I shuffle the functions of every hole in your face?
Bill announces that he will be the overlord of Gravity Falls for all eternity. And of course, he brought some friends along from the Nightmare Realm. Let's meet them all. You got 8-Ball, Kryptos, Xanthar, Teeth, Keyhole, Hectagon, Amorphous-shaped Pyronica Pacifier, and the Eyebats. What lovely guests. Not only that, Bill spruces up the place a bit with bubbles of pure madness that pop up all over town. Bill also creates a giant black pyramid to serve as his castle, and he gives the water tower a mouth. The Eyebats petrify and abduct people, and after claiming that time is dead and meaning has no meaning, Bill welcomes everyone to Weirdmageddon. You know, he's so powerful, he's even taken over the theme song. Look, It's written by him too. How many fourth walls did this just break? Meanwhile, Dipper and Ford see that they are too late to stop Bill from entering their world. Ford tells Dipper that with every passing minute, Bill's dimension leaks into their own, growing his power. Ford thinks their best chance of stopping Bill is to knock him back into the rift before Weirdmageddon spreads worldwide. Which isn't going to be easy when tidal waves of weirdness keep on changing their reality. Susie's grandma is now a chair. They try anyway, so Dipper and Ford, hiding at the top of the Gravity Falls church, get ready to take down Bill. But when Ford is ready to fire, he misses because the weirdness wave causes the bell to come alive and throw Ford off his aim. This is terrible because Bill is now alerted to their position and almost kills them. Since plan A failed, Ford claims that he knows of another way to defeat Bill, but before he can tell Dipper, he is turned into a statue to be used as Bill's back scratcher. Say what you want about Bill, but turning Ford into his personal back scratcher is genius. Not because it stops him from telling everyone his weaknesses, but because with 6 fingers, he can really get in there. With no other options, Dipper flips through Journal 3 trying to find Bill's weakness, but he finds nothing.
Do it, kid! Do some brilliant thing that takes me down right now! What do you got,
Oh, Bill!
No! The journals! With those destroyed, there's no way for Dipper to know what to do. The only thing he can do is run away. He eventually finds Wendy and Toby hiding out in the mall. Wendy is confident that Dipper, with Mabel's help, can defeat Bill. But Dipper isn't too sure, especially when he doesn't even know where Mabel is. And as luck will have it, Mabel's prison is revealed to them, so they come up with a plan to bust Mabel out of there. Meanwhile, Bill and his friends are having a party inside his floating pyramid, celebrating their victory, before Time Baby and the Time Police show up. Looks like blending came through, but it turns out they're no match for Bill. Bill hears news that Dipper may be plotting something, but he's not worried because he has someone on the case. And that someone is Gideon. With his group of escaped inmates, he's been ordered to arrest Dipper and Wendy. Bill appointed Gideon as master over the wasteland, so he has the key to Mabel's prison. Armed with that knowledge, Wendy and Dipper strike, taking down Gideon's henchmen, as well as stealing the key. They drive off as Gideon and the prisoners give chase. It's ironic that the inmates are kinda like guards now.
Have we, the prisoners, become the wardens?
She loves me! She just doesn't know it yet! Now quit the philosophy!
Sorry, it was my major.
That's what I'm saying. Dipper and Wendy are chased all the way through the wastelands, even going through some madness bubbles, before they are eventually cornered by Gideon and his men. But luckily, Susan's here to help, but not even he can save them from this situation. Dipper tries appealing to Gideon's emotional side, telling him that he can't force Mabel to love him, but he can try to become someone worthy of loving. Dipper is of course talking from experience. He did manage to get through to Gideon, who decides to help Dipper instead, but says that he has to tell Mabel that he helped set her free.
Fighting children is boring. Fighting a chaos god sounds fun.
Now with the key, Dipper, Wendy and Sus make it to Mabel's prison and unlock it. Dipper warns them that it could be dangerous, but they don't care. It's for Mabel. They enter for it to cut to a to be continued screen. Wow, what a way to start off the Weirdmageddon arc. Bill has taken over, Ford captured, and the journals are destroyed. This episode immediately sets the tone and shows how high the stakes are. Bill is most definitely the most dangerous creature the Pines have ever had to deal with. And in this episode, he's won. It really makes you think, how can anyone win against him? Well, I guess we'll have to find out next time. S tier.
I see everything! Ow!
And next time is now, because grabbing that silver medal is Weirdmageddon Part 3, Take Back the Falls. Remember, Part 4 doesn't exist and can't hurt you. So this is the finale. We're in the end game now. Weirdmageddon is still in full effect, but we just got Mabel back and we found out that the remaining survivors are hiding out with Stan in the Mystery Shack. Turns out, the shack is Bill-proof to all his weirdness thanks to the unicorn voodoo Ford and Dipper did back in the last Mabelcorn episode. Dipper tells Stan that Ford has been captured by Bill and that they should go rescue him because he knows Bill's weakness and how to defeat him. Stan isn't too keen on leaving the shack though, mainly because it's safer here, but also believing that Ford has to get himself out of the mess he made. It's clear to see that Stan is still hurt by the fact he sacrificed 30 years of his life to save his brother, yet Ford insists on keeping his distance and ridicule every action Stan makes. Stan eventually agrees to rescue Ford after they learn what is happening to the other townspeople. Bill has been stacking their petrified bodies in a throne of pure agony. That thing he's been sitting on all day? Yeah. That's their friends. Respect to Chandra Jimenez though, that's a real journalist right there. However, it's not like they can just bust in. Bill has his allies, and Bill is Bill, you know?
I've made some thingamadiculous robomajigs in my day, but this is the first one that won't be used for evil.
Dipper and Mabel rally everyone together as they gather resources and build a mech from McGucket's blueprints. A mech that can hopefully stand a chance against Bill. Meanwhile, Bill releases Ford from being his back scratcher to interrogate him. Bill explains that he can control space, time, and all of reality. So how come Bill's weirdness can't escape the confines of Gravity Falls? Bill expects Ford to be behind this somehow, but even Ford doesn't know. The only thing Ford can think of is that it has got to be because of the natural magnetism attracting weirdness to Gravity Falls. The thing Ford was studying that brought him to Gravity Falls in the first place. A force so strong that it forms a barrier that prevents that weirdness from spreading out. Ford thinks there must be an equation to break the barrier, but he'd never tell Bill. This is where Bill reveals his true origins. Bill is from the second dimension, an interdimensional plane that he liberated, which means he basically destroyed it, and he wants to do the same here.
You can't enter my mind unless I shake your hand and let you in.
I'll make you talk. It's only a matter of time.
You know, when you're under attack 24/7 and there is a constant threat of being turned into a living statue, it really does wonders for the will to survive, or in this case, turning the Mystery Shack into a fully functioning mech in one day. I really love how the Shacktron looks, giving off real Baba Yaga vibes. It even has parts made up of things we have seen throughout the show, like the Gobblewonker's head or a T-Rex from when Waddles was pignapped that one time. Since the Shack is protected against Bill's weirdness, McGucket thought, why not just use the Shack against Bill? Bill sends his henchmen to fight them, and this leads to a great fight scene. Also, whoever's idea it was to use the main theme song as battle music deserves a raise and, oh, I don't know, to be made president or something.
3, 2, 1, go!
No!
I wish I could show more because it's so good, but copyright is a thing. I love how everyone works together, putting their specific expertise to work. So Bill now realizes that he has to do everything himself, but he quickly finds out that the Shack is immune to his attacks. The survivors use this as a chance to attack Bill's weak spot, his eye, and whilst he's distracted and blind, they use this as a chance to infiltrate the pyramid. They gather various items that could help, like the shrink and growing torch and Mabel's grappling hook. And I love how they use parachutes made from every single Mabel sweater from different episodes to help them land. They find Gideon trapped in a cage, and he says to save everyone, they'll have to pull out Mayor Tyler, then the whole structure will come down. And if you ignore the fact the people at the top would have at least some form of brain damage from the fall, they manage to save everybody, including Ford, who I can't believe hasn't met up with McGucket since he's been back. Not even once.
I haven't seen you since we parted ways. You must hate me.
I've tried forgetting. Maybe I should try forgiving.
Dipper asks Ford how they can defeat Bill, but Ford then draws a circle on the floor, creating the Zodiac symbol we have been seeing at the start of every episode. Ford claims that long ago, he found the Zodiac detailing the pieces needed to defeat Bill, but he didn't fully understand what they meant. That is, until now. Some symbols are literal, like the shooting star and pine tree representing Mabel and Dipper, but some are descriptive, like ice representing Wendy, someone cool under pressure. And all they have to do is hold hands with each other to generate the power needed to defeat Bill.
Ew, I'm not touching that.
Do it, sweetie. Touch the hillbilly.
Stan still thinks this plan is baloney, and can cave drawings really defeat a monster like Bill? Who, by the way, has now realized that the legs aren't inside the unicorn's bubble, meaning he can now beat the Shack. Stan blames Ford for bringing Bill to Gravity Falls, which Ford apologizes for. Thanks to this, Stan finally agrees to help, but only if Ford thanks him for spending 30 years bringing him back home. Ford thanks Stan, getting him to join the Zodiac. So I guess the day is saved.
Between me and him, I'm not always the bad twin.
Between him and me, Grammar, Stanley.
Oh, Grammar Stanley, you stuck-up
Don't
son
jeopardize
of a gun!
this, you idiot!
Thanks to Stan and Ford's fighting, it breaks the link between everyone. I guess I forgot to mention that the Zodiac is a one and done kind of thing. There are no do-overs, so this is pretty bad. What's worse is that Bill is here now after dispatching of the shack. Bill immediately gets to work by setting fire to the Zodiac, neutralizing it as a threat for good. And for added measure, he also captures Stan and Ford before turning everyone but the Pines family into tapestries with nothing but a snap of his fingers. It's really haunting seeing their screaming faces forever in agony. That's really dark now that I think about it. Bill then traps Dipper and Mabel and tells Ford he'll spare them if he tells him the equation to remove the barrier around Gravity Falls. Dipper and Mabel tell Ford not to do it because all of humanity will be doomed. But personally, I don't believe there was ever an equation. The barrier feels more like a force of nature, and you can't calculate that. However, all their shouting causes Bill to get angry, giving Mabel a chance to spray paint Bill's eye, distracting him again. Dipper then uses his flashlight to enlarge the cell, making it so he and Mabel can escape. Dipper and Mabel then get Bill to chase them, and Bill cements why he is the scariest villain in the show.
I've got some children I need to make into corpses!
As Mabel and Dipper use her grappling hook to try and run away, with Bill closing in on them, Stan and Ford contemplate why those two can work so well together, whereas they pretty much doomed the world. Ford considered letting Bill in his mind so they could wipe out Bill with McGucket's mind wipe device, but he has a metal plate in his head, preventing that idea from working. Stan wonders what would happen if Bill went into his mind instead, but Ford tells him that there is nothing that Bill would want in there. Right now, Ford sacrificing himself seems to be the best solution to at least save Dipper and Mabel. However, Bill has finally caught up to them and brings them back to Stan and Ford. Bill tells Ford he is going to kill one of the twins if Ford does not accept his deal. But before Bill does so, Ford surrenders, much to Stan's objections. Ford's only condition to the deal is that Bill lets Stan, Dipper and Mabel go. Bill accepts as he shakes hands with Ford, shedding his physical form, which turns to stone as he mentally enters Ford's mind.
You really know how to clear your... What?!
Turns out, it was actually Stan's mind that Bill entered. Since they are also twins, they're dressed up as each other while trapped to trick Bill. It helped that Stan can do a great impression of his brother too. If you have a good eye for detail, you can tell that Stan and Ford switched by the time Bill returned. Stan now has 6 fingers and Ford has the same damage details Stan usually has. Now, with Bill in Stan's mind, Ford uses the memory gun to completely wipe Stan's memory. You can see the effects of this in the mindscape, with the space becoming engulfed in blue flames. Stan explains to Bill that his memory is going to be wiped with Bill inside. Bill starts panicking, which is a rare sight.
You're making a mistake! I'll give you anything! Money, fame, riches!
But Stan doesn't fall for his tricks, telling Bill that his biggest mistake was going after his family. Stan then punches Bill out of existence, showing yet again that violence is never the question, but the answer. Stan is then happy that maybe he was good for something after all. With Bill's defeat, everyone is freed from the tapestries, and all of Bill's friends are sucked back into the rift. The rift, once sealed, explodes, restoring Gravity Falls back to its relative normality. The good guys have won, with no casualties as well. Well, that's not entirely true. Stan now has no memory of who he or anyone else is.
He saved the world. He saved me. You're our hero, Stanley.
They return to the Mystery Shack, which still looks pretty good after being part of a mech destroyed by Bill. Dipper and Mabel try to remind Stan of the Mystery Shack and themselves, but Stan still has no clue who anyone or anything is. Mabel then uses her scrapbook to try and make Stan remember their adventures from over the summer, and this actually works.
He needs to remember our boss-employee relationship.
Hey, just because I have amnesia, don't go trying to give yourself a raise, Zeus.
It's happening, keep going!
With Stan now remembering who he is, life in Gravity Falls seems to return to normal. Well, as normal as it can be. There are still eye-bats hoarding around, zombies rise up from the dead every now and then, and the townspeople have to learn to live with that. I think my favourite thing from this finale is seeing how everyone has evolved and changed as characters. Like the Northwests going broke because Preston tried pledging allegiances to Bill. Now they are being forced to sell their mansion, and thanks to McGucket regaining his sanity and trademarking all his inventions, he made millions overnight and is able to buy their mansion. At the Mystery Shack, Dipper and Mabel finally celebrate their 13th birthday with the entire town present. It's the least they could do to thank the Pines family for saving the town. Mabel swears to never forget anyone in Gravity Falls and destroys the memory gun for added measure. Wendy declares the twins as technically teenagers, which is something Dipper has been chasing from the very start. As the party continues, Ford tells Stan that he has detected strange anomalies in the middle of the Arctic Ocean. He wants to investigate but doesn't want to go it alone, asking Stan to come along with him and give them a chance to live out the adventures that they wish they always had when they were younger. Stan agrees to go with Ford, but what will happen to the Mystery Shack?
The Mystery Shack is under new management.
You mean it, Mr. Mystery?
You're Mr. Mystery now, Seuss.
Looks like the Mystery Shack will be under new management, and it's the most logical choice seeing how Seuss has been evolving throughout the series. Even Seuss's abuela knew, that's why she is able to move in immediately. But all good things must come to an end, because the time has come for Dipper and Mabel to go back home. They are all at the bus stop wishing each other goodbye. Wendy wishes Dipper goodbye as well, telling him that he means a lot to her. Before he came along, summer was just boring. They exchange their hats so they each have something to remember the other by. She also gives Dipper a sealed letter.
Read it the next time you miss Gravity Falls.
Finally, the last bus leaving Gravity Falls arrives, and Mabel realizes she said goodbye to everyone. Everyone but Waddles. A pig wouldn't be able to survive in California. Dipper and Mabel's parents wouldn't allow it, but mainly because he would be too delicious. Mabel tries leaving him behind, but Stan says that if he had to tolerate living with a pig all summer, then so will her parents.
Bringing animals aboard a moving vehicle is strictly prohibited.
That's right, you show him a ray gun. With Waddles now on the bus, the twins give one last heartfelt goodbye as they leave. As the bus drives away, we get to see that Seuss is now running the Mystery Shack with Melanie as his assistant and is respecting Stan's legacy. Speaking of Stan, he is with Ford fighting giant squids in the middle of the Arctic, and what's better is that the boat they're on is called the Stan Award 2, referencing the boat they built when they were kids. Dipper opens the letter Wendy gave him as he's already missing Gravity Falls, and it reads, "See you next summer," signed by all of his and Mabel's friends from town. Then the credits roll. At the very end of the credits, you get a flash of an image of creepy found footage of what looks to be Bill Cipher's physical form in the woods. But that's a story for another time. Most shows are defined by how well they ended, as a bad ending could bring down the entire viewing experience. Luckily, Gravity Falls' finale was almost pure perfection. It nicely rounds off all the various character arcs. We get to say goodbye to everyone we cared about, and even get to see what some of them are up to now. And in a world where so many shows are cancelled for no good reasons before they can finish telling their story, it's nice to see a show go out on its own terms. Now, I said this finale was almost pure perfection for a reason. Admittedly, it is a bit of a nitpick, but I don't really like how quickly Stan gets his memories back. I know Alex later explained that thanks to Mabel's scrapbook and everyone helping to stimulate his neurons, it allowed Stan to regain his memory quicker than someone like McGucket, who was alone most of the time. But to me, it feels like it cheapens Stan's sacrifice, and since Stan has his memories back, wouldn't that also mean that Bill is back too in some sort of way? The ending we got still works though, but I would have been totally fine with a third season, if there was one, about Stan trying to get his memories back. We could also explore the situationship between Dipper and Pacifica, or how well Seuss is running the Mystery Shack now. You know, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Stan getting his memories back thematically works better anyway. Maybe I'm just more of a cynic than I thought. S tier.
My brother.
Now, some of you must have realized that the season 2 finale was not my #1 pick for the best episode in all of Gravity Falls. As great as it is, there is still one episode that is in a league of its own. This episode does everything: action, humor, lore, and making you question who you can trust in Gravity Falls. That's right, in first place, to no one's surprise, is season 2's mid-season finale not what he seems. I know it's technically not a mid-season finale, but the episode is so good it feels like one. So, First things first, you can tell this episode had a lot of love put into it and a lot of thought went behind how this episode will turn out when you look at how many writers are credited. And these guys are no joke. Shion went and created Inside Job later on in life, and Jeff has helped write a lot of season 2 episodes, including the Weirdmageddon finale. So you already know that this episode is about to go hard. By the way, I guess I should mention that I've been using the Gravity Falls wiki to find any extra information about each episode, and it's been helping out a lot, so shouts out to them. Late at night, we see Stan working on the machine below the Mystery Shack, using dangerous chemicals from God knows where. Stan still has no idea what he's doing, but thanks to the journals, he's been figuring stuff out. He's even got to the point of being able to actually activate the machine, setting up a timer for who knows.
Extreme usage could result in minor gravity anomalies. I've come this far. I'm not giving up now.
Oh, it's the intro, guys. That's from the intro. I love when shows do that. The next day, Mabel and Dipper get up to some shenanigans with totally legal fireworks, and of course, Stan helps them onto the roof to really get their full effects off. After having fun all morning and heckling the cops, by the way, I love how they came after they let off a firework called Cop Callers. Anyway, Stan tries telling the twins what he's been up to every night, but he chickens out at the last moment. I guess he didn't want to ruin their relationship, but it doesn't matter anyway since he's gotten a very special visitor.
What did I do that warrants this much arresting?
The government, guys?
Somewhere hidden in this shack is a doomsday device.
The government, who have been keeping an eye on Stan all season so far, have finally gotten enough evidence to arrest him. Someone stole dangerous chemicals from a government site last night, and Agent Powers believes that this person was Stan. They then take Stan away to be interrogated, but Stan claims that he didn't steal those chemicals. He was stocking the gift shop late last night. Before Dipper and Mabel can do anything, they are also taken away for their own safety.
Hey!
You dirty son of a... You get what's coming to you. We know Stan has been handling some form of chemicals. Their origins unknown, most likely stolen from the government, but Dipper and Mabel don't know that. So you can't blame them when they decide to try and clear Stan's name. If Stan really was stocking the gift shop like he said, then there would be security tapes to prove it. First things first, they have to escape from this moving car safely. Luckily, Mabel and safe go in the same sentence. The sentence, by the way, is Mabel isn't safe. You should know this by now. She has a grappling hook, which they then use to sneak back into the Mystery Shack. Meanwhile, Stan is being interrogated by the agents, but he ain't giving them anything to work with, only insisting on his one phone call, which he eventually gets granted to him, and he uses it to sneakily tell Suze to guard the vending machine at the shack with his life. Stan is worried that he needs to be back at the shack when it happens, and seeing that the gravity fluctuations caused by the machine are getting stronger, this gives Stan an idea on how to escape. After searching Stan's office in the shack, Dipper and Mabel eventually find the security tapes they're looking for. Well, there's good news and bad news. The good news is the video shows that yes, Stan was restocking last night, like he said. The bad news is that he left at some point and didn't return till hours later with the chemicals wearing the exact same getup the agents caught him in for K-On.
That could be anyone in that suit.
God, hot Belgian waffles! Wait, I'm alone. I can swear for real. Son of a...
Yep. That's Stan alright. I love the premium copium Mabel is smoking, but unfortunately, Stan is indeed the thief the government are looking for. Dipper and Mabel don't know what to think, and combined with the fact that when they find a hidden box filled with fake IDs and passports, as well as a newspaper clipping with a headline saying Stan Pine's dead, do they really know anything about who they've been living with all summer?
Unnamed grifter at large? Why would they call him unnamed? Stan.
Isn't
Stan?
This is a major revelation to everyone watching. You are instinctively taught to like and root for who the show tells you is family, but Can you trust them? Maybe the author was right all the way back in episode 1. Trust no one in Gravity Falls. They also find a secret code to a hideout, and Mabel figures out that it's a code for the vending machine. There, they find Zeus and have to force their way past him since he's protecting it under Stan's orders. Dipper manages to punch in the code, springing the vending machine open. This causes Zeus to also be curious about what's behind there, so he follows them down the rabbit hole. Meanwhile, Stan has managed to escape the agents by using the growing strength of the gravity fluctuations to his advantage. Does nobody else notice that gravity's being all weird today, or is it just me and the sheriffs? What were they doing in there? Stan needs to get back to the shack quick, but first he has to send the agents on a wild goose chase to cover his tracks.
Drive as far away from the shack as possible, and don't stop when the cops start chasing you!
Obviously, follow that cab!
Back under the shack, Dipper, Mabel and Zeus find Stan's secret lab and see all the work he's been up to over the summer. Mabel is convinced that Stan is still Stan and he loves them no matter what. He wouldn't keep secrets from them, but this is when Dipper discovers that Stan has the other 2 journals. Dipper doesn't take this too well, compiled with the fact that Stan has potentially lied about his identity to them, pretended to not believe in the supernatural all summer, and now has the other 2 journals. You can see why Dipper is upset. By using his blacklight, Dipper reveals a hidden message by the author. If the machine is activated, their entire universe could be ripped apart. After multiple betrayals from Stan, Dipper is eager to shut this whole operation down, but Stan returns just in time to try and reason with them. Dipper refuses to believe him, and then another gravity fluctuation occurs, lifting everyone up into the air. Mabel manages to make her way to the shut-off button, with Dipper telling her not to trust Stan and push it. Zeus and Dipper try restraining Stan as he begs Mabel to trust him, and then we get this super heartwarming scene.
I wanted to say that you're gonna hear some bad things about me, but trust me, everything I've worked for, everything I care about, it's all for this family. Mabel, please!
10, 9,
Uncle Stan?
6, 5.
I trust you.
You can really feel the emotion in this scene and how Mabel always tries to see the best in people. The main reason I think Mabel decided to trust Stan is because he said please. If you remember, Stan never uses that word and he only learns about the power of please from Mabel in the Boss Mabel episode. So Mabel hearing Stan saying please now shows her how much he's grown as a person. Anyway, Mabel decides to not turn off the machine as the countdown reaches 0. This causes a spectacle of a scene where the machine activates, causing the fluctuations in gravity to be at their strongest. Cars float in the road and the mystery shack is literally ripped from its foundations. And once the dust settles, a mysterious figure walks through the machine, which we now learn is actually a portal.
What? Who is that?
The author of the journals. My brother.
At long last, we finally know the true author of the journals, Stan's twin brother. What a crazy ride we've been on. This episode really shakes up your beliefs and makes you wonder who you can really trust. In the same way Dipper was doubting Stan, we are doubting whether or not we are rooting for the good guys. All in all, I hope you can see why this is my pick for the all-time best episode in Gravity Falls. S tier. 70 pages later, we are done. I've now officially ranked every single Gravity Falls episode, a feat no one ever has done. That's right, no one else. I am the only person to get it done. I love being original. But on a real though, thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. I've learned a lot from this project. I swear I am a different man now compared to the one that started this video all those pages ago. Like I said earlier, if this video does well enough, I will rank every single Gravity Falls short next as a thank you for watching this project. Thanks again for watching, please like and subscribe, and if this video is impossibly late to the point I'm even questioning why even release it at all, then happy Valentine's Day everybody. Cola out.